All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for yet another live reading of Solo Leveling's light novel. Pardon me. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be going through chapters 31 through 40, picking up right where we left off. Chapter 31.
Yes, all the convicts are rank C's, but the hunter from the monitoring division is actually a rank B, so there is nothing for you to worry about.
Kim Son-sik nodded his head. The popular opinion stated that you'd need around 10 C rank hunters in order to contend against a single hunter ranked B. Well, a B rank was personally coming to monitor the troublemakers, not to mention participating in the raid itself, so there was no reason to say no here. 1 rank B and 3 rank Cs, huh? Jin quietly studied the faces of the monitoring division's agent as well as the 3 replacement convicts before tilting his head slightly. Something's off here. He could sense a minute trace of murderous intent flowing between those 4. Was this also one of the facets of the enhanced perception stat, or was he simply being overly cautious? In any case, he was overcome with this unexplainable anxiety all of a sudden. So Jin whispered in Jui's ear, "Miss Jui, please don't participate in this raid." Jui looked up at Jin's eyes and asked back,
What about you, Mr. Jin?
Rather than answering her, he too asked back, "If I say I'll be going?"
Well, in that case, I'm going too.
She looked like she'd follow him, no matter what. I'm sure she's only doing this because she's concerned about me. And he learned through prior experience that whenever Jui's face was forming that expression, she'd suddenly become a very stubborn young lady and she'd never change her mind, no matter what.
There shouldn't be a problem with me around, right?
After all, he had experience dealing with... there shouldn't be a problem with me around, right? After all, he had experience dealing with Huangdong-suk's gang, which contained 5 rank Cs in their midst. Jin nodded his head. Sorry, I just had a drink, so I'm trying to...
There shouldn't be a problem with me around, right?
After all, he had experience dealing with Huangdong-suk's gang. I'm doing this line again. Which contained 5 rank Cs in their midst. Jin nodded his head.
In that case, okay.
The agent from the monitoring division finished signing on all of the documents, and then came to speak to the gathered hunters. My name is Kang Tae-sik from the Hunt Monitoring Division. I believe you've been informed of the situation. I'll keep a very close eye on those 3, so you can rest easy. Kang Tae-sik then beckoned the 3 convicts to come closer. They all trudged towards him and presented their hands. With a practiced hand of his own, Kang swiftly undid their cuffs. Wowzers, I thought I was gonna die from the stuffiness just now. We ain't even slaves, so isn't it against our rights for you to drag us around here and there like this? The convicts massaged their freed wrists and continued to pile on their complaints. Kang Tae-sik roundly ignored them and returned his gaze back to the hunters. Who'll be taking the lead today? Song Chiul, having led raids before, raised his hand about halfway. Kang nodded his head. Understood. With Song in the lead, hunters entered the gate one by one. Let's get going as well. Jin and Jui also entered the gate, albeit at the same time. Perhaps the trauma from the last incident remained with her, because she ever so slightly held on to Jin's sleeve. Goblins were the main enemies for this dungeon. They were the weakest of all man-type monsters out there, so clearing the dungeon itself wasn't hard at all. These strange-looking creatures were weak enough for Jin to fight evenly one-on-one even before he got his power boost. Still, Jin did his utmost best to carefully hunt goblins with his bare hands. Oh, this is actually helping clear my throat. Nice. When Jin displayed the combat prowess that easily exceeded their imaginations, both Jui and Song's eyes became extra round in surprise. Wow. He was hiding most of his true power, yet the result of each fight was still remarkably different compared to the past. Jui approached him and carefully asked him,
Have you been working out lately?
"Well, I've been jogging every day."
Jogging?
Jui tilted her head, but, well, he wasn't technically lying here, so.
But
But besides all that, I'm not earning any experience points here. The enemy's level is too low.
the enemy's level is too low, and your experience points did not rise. The enemy's level is too low, and your experience points did not rise.
Jin formed a disappointed expression. The message of goblins being too weak and him not getting any experience points kept repeating itself. This isn't going to work. On top of this, the magic crystals from the goblins were also the worst grade there could be. Jin took a look around him. The C-rank convicts must have been really excited by the taste of freedom because they were wildly swinging their weapons and energetically ripped goblins to shreds. From this scene alone, it was difficult to tell apart just who were the monsters and who were the humans there. I guess there's no reason for me to break a sweat today. Well, he wasn't earning any experience points, nor was he making lots of money today either. A certain thought popped up in his head next. If it's going to be like this from now on, wouldn't it be better to quit the association? Pretty much the majority of jobs coming to the association's way were clearing the gates ranked D and E. However, if his level wasn't going to increase from entering those types of gates, then there was no need to participate in association's raids anymore. I can easily earn Mom's hospital fees by myself now, too. He could quit the association at any time he felt like it. This was why having money was always for the better. As soon as he had some, his selection had widened. While thinking of this and that, the raid team entered deeper into the dungeon. And soon, a forked road with 3 paths appeared before them. And I, once again, forgot to have the screen off to the side for you guys. My apologies. It's all good, though. And soon, a forked road with 3 paths appeared before them. Kante-sik made a suggestion to Song. Since the difficulty of the dungeon is low, how about splitting up from here onwards? Yes, let's do that. Song readily agreed to that idea. Jin closed his eyes and extended his perception to the max. Now, which path leads to the boss? He was hoping that maybe the boss would give him a few experience points at the very least. Soon enough, he could pick up on the auras of all living creatures inside the dungeon. Jin opened his eyes and spoke to Song. As you see, let's go left. Okay. Jin, Song, and Jui chose the left pathway. Kante-sik and the 3 convicts the right one, and the remaining 2 went down the middle one. And I am getting Song mixed up with Mr. Park, but I'm gonna keep going. Jin's heart began beating a little bit faster. The boss is at the end of this passage. Although it couldn't be described as strong, a unique and different aura from that of a goblin was leaking out from the end of this cavern-like passageway. He wanted to quickly kill the boss. However, groups of goblins kept jumping out at him every couple of steps he took, and this hindered their progress. And this time, there were around 10 of them or so. One carried a wooden club, one held a wooden sword, one even held a long wooden shaft with a stone shard crudely tied at the tip. They had armed themselves to the best of their abilities, but none of them managed to threaten him. Haven't you guys had enough yet? Jin frowned really deeply. It proved to be such a bother. These bastards that were worth nothing yet moved around in large groups like this. There are 10 of them this time. What should we do? Should we come back after finding the others? However, Jin's two companions were getting rather somber about the current predicament they were in. Still, there are only goblins here, so maybe we should try fighting them first? Okay. Flames formed on the tip of Song's fingers, while Jui got ready to cast her healing magic as well. Meanwhile, Jin was scratching the back of his head. Now that I think about it, I'm not feeling nervous at all, even though I'm inside a dungeon. Was it because he had become incomparably stronger than before? Only now did he grow a little bit more conscious of the changes that had taken place inside him. Song asked Jin, Mr. Sung, are you ready? Oh, yes, I am. Jin matched the timing with the rest of his teammates and slowly hunted each goblin down. And so, as they steadily cleared the dungeon, out of the blue, screams reverberated throughout the dungeon from somewhere, one after the other. Those weren't from the goblins. No, they definitely belonged to humans. Jin, Song, and Jui exchanged glances. They thought the things had calmed down, only for yet another desperate scream to enter their ears. Song's expression hardened. Let's go take a look. The three of them quickly ran to where the screams came from. Jin could have moved faster than his two companions, but for the sake of their safety matched their speeds. Just how long did they have to run? Jui cried out in alarm after finding a person.
There's a person there!
And it just so happened to be the hunter from the monitoring division, Tae-sik. He was kneeling on the ground, covered completely in blood. Kong shouted out at them. Be careful! I don't know where they could be right now. Kong spat those words out with great difficulty before collapsing on the ground in pain. Jui couldn't watch on anymore and hurriedly ran towards Kong.
Hold on, I'll heal you right now.
Jui was thinking like this. Regardless of where the enemies were hiding, she was still a healer ranked B, meaning the speed of her healing magic was very fast. So she thought that before enemies attacked them, it'd be more advantageous for her to quickly heal Kong Tae-sik.
Please hold on for just a little longer.
Jui stood in front of Kong and reached out with both of her hands. Gentle rays of light gathered near the ends of her hands. It happened then. Kong Tae-sik rapidly raised his upper body up and took aim at the center of Jui's neck with his hand full of magic energy. Shrish! Just before his fingertip could touch Jui's Adam's apple, someone managed to grab Kong's wrist in time. Snap! The stunned Jui stumbled backwards before falling on her rear. Plop. Kong Tae-sik's expression became one of shocked amazement. He stopped my attack in that short space of time? It was not a hard job for a high-ranked hunter to deal with a handful of lower-ranked hunters. The only thorn in his side today happened to be a female hunter ranked B, the same rank as he was. The silver lining about this thorn was that she was not a combat-related hunter. She didn't possess any abilities to protect herself, so as long as he succeeded in sneak attacking her, everything would end quite easily. However, To think his sneak attack would end up missing. With things like this, there was no reward for all that great acting he had put on. Kong's gaze followed the hand grabbing his wrist and to its owner, and Jin's face was at the end. Jin's eyes were emitting a very strong light of murderous intent. Kong frowned deeply. "How dare you! A freaking association bottom feeder!" Swish! Kong's other fist flew towards Jin's face. However, Jin simply tilted his head out of the way and let the fist fly by. "What?" Kong hurriedly yanked his arm loose from Jin's grasp. "Huh?" Jin displayed his shock next, as expected from a high-ranked hunter in his power. Now that both of his hands were freed, Kong began pouring out attacks without a rest. However, Jin also moved at the speed that didn't lose out to Kong and went on the offensive of his own. Pow, 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 pow. Fists and arms belonging to two men endlessly collided and traded countless blows. None of them showed any signs of backing off. Seizing this opportunity, Song quickly dragged Jui away from the area.
I just see.
Jui couldn't finish what she wanted to say because of the sheer shock from seeing what was happening right now. However, there was one person here who was even more shocked than Jui, and that was none other than Song. Just how on earth is this possible? This fierce battle unfolding at a scarcely believable speed. He was having a hard time trying to follow with his eyes. Something like that was expected of a high-ranked hunter, so that was fine. But then, the Sung Jinu fighting that man couldn't have been the same person from Song's memories. The youth was definitely not losing out against a rank B hunter at all. I'm a C rank and even I can't follow his movements with my eyes. Indeed, his gut feeling proved to be right. The Jin in front of his eyes right now was not the same youth from his memories. An E rank who was weak but possessing a good head on his shoulders. In the blink of an eye, the two traded hundreds of blows and they quickly stepped back while trying to catch their breaths. Jin glared at Kong and frowned. The blood on your clothes. I'm guessing it's not yours. Kong loosened his wrist and answered back. That's right. It belongs to those bastards. Besides all that, I never expected to run into a hunter of your caliber in this crappy place. Honestly speaking, Kong was really impressed. He hadn't heard of any information regarding a high-ranking hunter slumming it out along with those bottom feeders working for the association. This is gonna cost me big time. He thought that today would be the best time to act, so he did his deeds. But quite unexpectedly, he ran into a pretty steep hurdle here. Kong couldn't control his curiosity and asked out loud. Who the heck are you? What rank are you? Jin summoned the poison fang of Kasaka, and while grasping it tightly in his hand, he replied rather curtly. Sung Jinu. I'm rank E. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of Chapter 31. Onwards to Chapter 32. Part 4. Rank B Kong Tae Sik. Kong felt like someone had hit him in the back of his head. A bastard that displayed the movement equal to his own speed, which was unmatched within the rank B, introduced himself as a measly rank E just now. Is he trying to make fun of me? Kong gnashed his teeth. No, hang on. Indeed, there was something odd here. If he's really a high-rank hunter, there's no reason for him to be here, isn't it? The jobs these bottom feeder association hunters did were quite obvious. Their main role was to clear those gates that guilds and freelancers gave up on because of their low monetary values. Their earnings were pathetically small compared to other hunters, and they were not widely acknowledged by other hunters either. In other words, there was a very good chance that this bastard really was an E rank. Only that his abilities were anything but. Hello, San Mook. Welcome. If this is your first time here, sit back and relax. I will be reading the chapters 31 through 40 of the solo leveling light novel. This will be, like a dramatic reading, audio only. But hope you enjoy yourself. Only that his abilities were anything but. Still, a fake registrant wouldn't brazenly work under the association like this, so Kong eventually arrived at the only logical conclusion. He's a reawakened. If you don't reply, I'll leave. Don't be that guy. Moving on. Kong Tae-sik eventually arrived at the only logical conclusion. He's a reawakened. When he thought about it, he remembered the upper echelons of the association getting a bit noisier with a rumor. Ravi, it's good to see you as always. When he thought about it, he remembered the upper echelons of the association getting a bit noisier with a rumor of someone going through a reawakening somewhere nearby this location. And that person was supposedly a hunter affiliated with the association. He should have memorized that name back then, as that matter happened only a couple of weeks ago. If this jerk had been delaying getting a reassignment test for some reason until now, it was very much possible for him to remain as an E rank and assist the association with their work. Who could have guessed that such a guy would show up today? Kang Tae-sik had made sure to perform thorough background checks on the hunters participating in today's raid. But he had missed the existence of this one. I really have terrible luck, don't I? That's the only conclusion he could arrive at. I should have asked for more money if things turned out this way. Kang recalled the events of a few days ago while licking his dried lips. A few days ago, a cafe near the headquarters of the association. Kang asked the moment he settled down in his seat. What business do you have with me? The middle-aged man sitting his opposite side seemed rather haggard for some reason. He said that he's an owner of... He said he's an owner? He said that he's an owner of some company, didn't he? Kong definitely did not know who this man was. However, he still decided to free up some time after this man continued to call him on the phone, sounding quite desperate and all. The middle-aged man muttered as if he was speaking to himself. I heard that no one knows what happens exactly inside dungeons. The man's voice was so soft that Kong had to ask again. What did you say? This is every cent I have in my name. The man suddenly presented his bank account book. Kong alternated his gaze between the book and the man's face, before confirming the bank balance printed on the book's pages. There was a substantial amount of 2 billion won printed there. And why are you showing me this? When Kong formed a questioning expression, the middle-aged man's head dropped lower. Among the criminals you're in charge of, there is one who had hurt my little girl. Because of that, she took her own life, and my wife is still in the hospital from the shock. The middle-aged man's voice became tearful. Yet, such a bastard will be able to roam the streets again in a few years' time. You think I'll be able to rest easy knowing that? The man raised his sorrow and rage-filled voice. I'm sure you can already tell what I'm implying here. The man lowered his head again. I beg of you, hunt on him! A deafening silence descended between these two men. Kong leaned against the back of his chair and fell into a deep contemplation. Only after a long while passed by did he open his mouth again. Can you guess why I chose to work for the association's monitoring division?
Pardon me?
The middle-aged man raised his head. Kong explained himself. As a B rank hunter, I'm considered as one of the higher ranked hunters. Large guilds continue to send their scouting offers in my direction all the time. Yet, can you guess why I persist in doing this job while getting a pittance in return?
I. I don't know.
The corners of Kong's lips arched up. You see, I find it more enjoyable to fight against people rather than monsters. In that sense, the monitoring division was like the heaven-sent job for Kong. Well, he could beat up other hunters in the name of the law after all, and he'd end up killing one or two due to unavoidable circumstances too. Due to unavoidable circumstances, eh? Kong inwardly smiled and spoke. Stepping on that insect you told me about isn't going to be difficult at all. However, there will be other hunters inside the dungeon besides the insect as well. I might view that bastard as an insect, but will other hunters think that way, I wonder? The middle-aged man formed a disappointed expression after hearing Kong's rather pessimistic-sounding words. And here he was, thinking that he'd finally get to avenge the death of his little girl. It felt like the heavens were crashing down on top of him. However, Kong formed a sinister smile as if to mock the other man. This money, plus 1 billion won on top of that to deal with the other hunters as well. Can you do it? However, if a reawakened hunter was among those other hunters, then the amount of 3 billion won wasn't quite enough. Well, his own life was on the line after all. The self-proclaimed rank E hunter was still emitting a sharp, observant air even now. He looked as if he'd seize an opening, any slight opening there was. Kong Tae-sik swallowed his saliva. That's the first mention we got for today. I can't take him lightly. Kong was confident of winning here. He had never lost a single one-on-one fight even before he underwent the awakening process. However, even though he could win, it would not be an easy victory at all. Right now, he had to revise his plans ever so slightly. With a nice timing, the Reiki hunter asked a question. Those convicts, why did you kill them? The father of a girl who was assaulted by these bastards came to ask for me the favor. There's another word used here for assaulted, but I don't feel comfortable saying it. Those bastards were animals worthy of getting killed. And the father of a girl who was assaulted by these bastards came to ask me for a favor. Those bastards were animals worthy of getting killed, and I simply took care of animals that hurt other people. That is all. The Ranky hunter was listening without saying anything. It seemed quite likely that talking might work here. Kong went straight to persuading the other man. Although the matter had come down to this, I don't wish to hurt you. How about ignoring today's matter altogether? As long as we make this deal here, I promise I won't try anything to you and your group. Of course, he couldn't let a potential source of trouble fester. That was why Kong was thinking. There was a chance that a head-on fight would result in him getting badly injured, so he'd get out of here first, wait for an opportune moment, and dispose of all the witnesses one at a time. However, the Ranky hunter snorted derisively. You should have said those things before you tried your little tricks. You want us to ignore everything just because you failed your sneak attack? The man didn't say anything wrong here. Kong smirked in dumbfoundedness. In the end, you want to have a go, is that it? Well, in that case, he'd have to go all out then. The light shimmering in Kang Tae-sik's eyes became colder. His sharp glare quickly swept across the Ranky hunter top to bottom, and his forehead creased up for a second. Where did he get his dagger from? Since before he had noticed it, the E-rank hunter was holding a dagger. Well, it shouldn't be too important, is it? It didn't matter where that weapon came from, indeed. What's important here, though, was the type of the weapon. Kang quickly concluded his assessment. The class that used daggers and utilized quick movements. His opponent was a super close type. He was a super close type damage dealer. Most likely, his specialty was his specialty. I was trying to be all special saying speciality. His specialty was assassination. What a coincidence that their specialties happened to be the same. However, this guy only underwent his reawakening not too long ago. The difference in experience should be absolutely massive. He might not even be able to properly utilize the skills at his disposal. Let me teach you a thing or two as your senior. Kang extracted a knife from his hips and smirked derisively at the Ranky hunter. Can you do something like this? And then, Kang activated his stealth skill, thereby disappearing from the spot. That caused the Ranky hunter to get flustered, and he hurriedly looked around his vicinity. Kang could see his naked panic and confusion quite clearly. But that's so obvious. The stealth skill didn't only make one's body go transparent. The body, the sound, and even the smell. The skill that cloaked everything about the person activating it. It was the stealth skill in a nutshell. There was only a handful of assassin-type hunters who could use this skill in the entire world. Utterly unrelated to one's ranks, you just have to be a lucky few who unlock this skill when going through the awakening process. Let's end this in one hit! Kang swiftly moved to the rear of the E-rank hunter. His back was wide open, unguarded. This is the end! He was expecting to engage in a bitter battle, but it turned out to be a rather simple fight in the end. If the opponent was getting ready to counter the stealth skill, then it'd not be this easy at all. As expected, the difference in experience decided the victor today. What is it with me and words today? Apologies. Die! Kang's knife, I'm just gonna call him Kang. Because me saying Kong sounds like Kong, so I'm just gonna say Kang. Kang's knife aimed at the spot just below the E-rank hunter's ribs and powerfully stabbed forward. However, clang! Two daggers collided in the air and sparks flew off. With his stealth skill deactivated, one could now see Kang's wide open eyes. Yeah, I feel more comfortable saying Kang. Apologies for calling him Kong the whole time. What? But how? The E-rank hunter's dagger had accurately blocked off his own dagger. Unable to hide his shock, Kang raised his eyes and looked up at the E-rank hunter's face. And that hunter opened his mouth with a totally unimpressed face. Oh, so now you decide to pop up. What did you say? Unable to understand the words of this Ranky hunter, Kang suddenly felt this inexplicable fear in his heart.
Kring! Emergency quest. Kill all the enemies. There are life forms holding murderous intentions towards the player. Kill them all in order to secure your own safety. If you do not follow this instruction, a corresponding penalty will be given. The number of enemies left to kill, 1. The number of killed enemies, 0.
Jin confirmed the emergency quest message and breathed a sigh of relief. It wasn't a waste of time. He was kind of worried that if Kang didn't take the initiative, Jin wouldn't receive the emergency quest notification. It was quite unlike how it was with Hwan Dong-suk and his gang back then. That was why he tested the system out, and it was as he expected. The moment Kang revealed his murderous intent, the message popped up. He wasn't just mindlessly chatting with the guy, or revealing his panic, or showing off openings for nothing until now. I really didn't know he could use stealth, though. Actually, when Kang did disappear in front of his eyes, Jin was slightly taken aback. Well, stealth was a pretty rare skill, after all. But when he concentrated a bit harder, he easily and accurately sensed Kang's every movement. So much so that he could close his eyes and still find his target with no problem. This was the effect of his enhanced perception stat. He continued to invest on this stat just so he could tell whether he could fight or flight. But today he learned of a new use for it. Welcome back, Ramil. We're back with another Swallowed Saliva leveling. We already got one. I got lucky. Thanks to that, Kang was getting shocked out of his mind as if he had seen the ghosts of his ancestors. But how? And now, when Jin takes care of this murdering bastard, he'd be able to enjoy the quest's delicious rewards. If I'm going to fight anyway, then I might as well get everything I'm supposed to, right? It was his turn now. From now on, he'd start attacking for real. The two daggers locked in a deadly embrace, continued to push against each other. It seemed that their strength was about the same. It was here when Jin's eyes gleamed dangerously. In that case, should I find an opening somewhere else? Jin's leg moved in an instant and he stomped on Kang's foot. Stomp! Ah! And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of Chapter 32. Onwards to Chapter 33. Also, Ramil, I hope your day has been good. Kang had been paying attention only to the daggers, so he got really stunned by the pain shooting up from his foot, causing him to hurriedly step back. Jin didn't miss this opportunity. Dash!
Skill Dash has been activated. Your movement speed has increased by 30%. 1 mana will be spent every minute during this activation.
Jin rapidly got closer to his target. Kang's eyes grew wider still. He got faster! Jin had been displaying an already high level of agile movements, but now that he had gotten even faster, Kang found it quite disorienting. Jin closed the distance in the blink of an eye and sank his poisoned fang of Kasuga down on Kang's thigh. Ah! He aimed there precisely because Kang was focusing on defending his upper body only.
Effect: Paralysis has been activated. The effect has been cancelled due to the high resistance of the target. Effect: Bleeding has been activated. The target's stamina will decrease by 1% per second.
Nice. The added effects of the Kasuga dagger kicked in as well. It was a bit regretful that the paralysis didn't work, but still, this fight had become just a tad easier now. However, Kang was a high-ranked hunter himself, so his resistance was nothing to scoff at. His dagger aimed at Jin's vitals. I was about to say Ju's vitals. I was about to combine both Jin and Wu at the same time. His dagger aimed at Jin's vitals and continued to fly in. Jin evaded the blade with only a hair's breadth and also attacked Kang's vital spots. Even though his thigh was badly damaged, Kang calmly defended against Jin's attacks, as befitting an experienced hunter. Clang! Clang! Cold sweat drops formed on the foreheads of both men. Our speeds are about the same. We're moving at the same speed. Two men were inwardly admiring each other's agile movements and continued to clash in a dazzling display of super close proximity knife fighting. Several powerful attacks, each one capable of ending this fight if hit, were exchanged without rest. It was a truly scary and gripping battle that caused the onlookers' blood to go cold. I gotta break this stalemate somehow. Jin gathered strength in his eyes.
Skill Intimidation has been activated.
The moment his eyes met Jin's, Kang flinched slightly for some reason. What was that?
Effect Fear has been activated. The target's stats will decrease by 50% for 1 minute.
It worked. Jin knew that he had won now. On the other hand, a small earthquake erupted in Kang's eyes. How come my body is... After he had met Jin's gaze, his body felt as heavy as if he was floundering in deep water or some such. His trusty speed began decreasing as well. Whoosh, whoosh. Wounds on Kang's body increased quickly one by one. This isn't possible! Kang's thoughts became confused and messy. This was, without a doubt, a debuffing effect. But he had never, ever heard of a case where an assassin class was able to use a debuff magic. Assassination was not his specialty then? If that was the case, then what was up with his crazy speed? However, Kang had stopped his train of thoughts there. His confusion had rapidly morphed into panic instead. Because he had spotted Jin abruptly rushing in closer. Oh yes, that is a busted skill. Being able to just look at someone and you make their stats decrease by a whole half? No, that's a busted skill. It really is. And I love it. Because he had spotted Jin abruptly rushing in closer. Kang hurriedly took aim at Jin's eyes. Whoosh! Jin quickly tilted his head out of the way, but the dagger still managed to graze his cheek. Of course, he knew he'd get hurt, at least by this much, or even worse. In order to get that decisive strike in, he decided to take the risk. Kang's expression crumpled. Crap. Jin succeeded in getting close to Kang's chest and stabbed down on the latter with the poison fang of Kaseka. Stab! Kang's eyes shot open wider. Both men knew right away at that moment the victor had been truly decided with that one move. Crimson red blood pooled in Kang's mouth. It was gushing up from his chest. As blood leaked out from the side of his lips, Kang formed a smirk. To actually run into a reawakened hunter inside a lowly rank D dungeon. Me and might seriously rotten. The dagger in Kang's hand fell to the floor. He continued to pant heavily as he leaned his head closer and whispered something in Jin's ear. Jin silently listened to those last words before pulling the dagger out from Kang's chest. Just like a dress slipping off a clothes hanger, Kang crumpled to the floor, lifeless. Plop.
You have completed emergency quest. Kill all the enemies.
The expected messages did pop up, but Jin's expression wasn't so good. Just like the last time, the aftertaste of killing someone remained bitter and nothing to feel too happy about, even though the other guy attacked first and initiated this fight.
Completion rewards are now available. Would you like to confirm the rewards?
If there were no rewards, then this would be one heck of a loss-loss situation, that. Jin consoled himself with that line of thought and confirmed the rewards.
The following rewards are available. Reward 1, 5 additional stat points.
Whenever I'm reading novels, I always use the Wilhelm scream in my head every time it says they're screaming. Ah! I know exactly what you mean.
Reward 1, 5 additional stat points.
Huh? Jin formed a confused expression. The reward on offer was far, far less than when compared to fighting Huangdong-suk and his goons. But it was a far harder opponent this time, though. Did this mean the number of enemies was more important than the skills of the opponent? Or was there something else he hadn't figured out yet? Jin tilted his head slightly. It was here that Jin lowered his gaze and ended up spotting something rather odd. There was a spot of flickering light about as big as a coin gleaming on the corpse of Kang. Jin's eyes grew wider and wider. No way. Could it be? Although he could hardly believe it, that light seemed far too familiar to the one emitted by the loot found on the dead monsters from the instant dungeons. That light also indicated the position of the magic crystal inside a monster from the gates. But now, the dead Kang Tae-sik was emitting this light. What does this mean? Jin calmed his trembling heart and quietly reached out towards the chest area of Kang where that flickering light was coming from. Indeed, he wasn't seeing things just now. You've discovered runestone stealth. Take it. A runestone? Are you talking about that runestone? His heart began pounding even harder than before. The skill Kang used had now become a runestone and was waiting to be discovered on his body. Stealth was a rare skill that only a few hunters could use. If this message was indeed talking about the runestone he knew, then acquire it. Suddenly, a small rock with mysterious runic letters carved on the surface appeared in his hand. Runestone. Stealth. You can absorb the skill by breaking this runestone. Absorbing skills by breaking the stone. As the description said, this rock was definitely a runestone. By breaking it, he'd be able to use stealth from now on. He had not heard of a runestone that taught one to use stealth being put up for sale until now, so it was impossible to estimate just how much this little runestone would go for in the marketplace. It was then he heard the voices of two people coming from his rear. Mr. Song, are you alright?
Mr. Jin!
Jin hid the runestone inside his pocket and turned around. And he found Song and Ju-yi busy gawking at him with eyes filled with disbelief. The ranky hunter, Jin, who used to struggle like there was no tomorrow in a rank D dungeon, just defeated a rank B hunter, Kang Tae-sik. As a non-combatant class, Ju-yi didn't know this, but the rank C Song knew very well how incredibly crazy that notion was. Jin checked out his own appearance. Well, yeah, I'm okay. From a casual glance, he was totally fine. He wasn't feeling any pain, either. But when he turned his head a bit, the blood pooling around his chin dribbled down. He reflexively touched his cheek and found that the cut he got earlier was bleeding now. Oh.
Let me heal that for you.
For a second or two, a blue light danced around Jui's fingertips, before that little cut disappeared from the view. This was the confirmation. A rank E had successfully defeated a rank B without a single injury.
Well, actually, he got a cut on his cheek. He's got a cut on his cheek, so Julie had to heal that for him.
I can already hear the people now. That was the confirmation. A rank E had successfully defeated a rank B without a single injury. For the two people here that knew Jin, rather than the fact of a rank B hunter trying to kill them, it was the fact of the youth before them defeating said hunter that shocked them the most. How can you be able to? Song couldn't finish his sentence. Jin, of course, knew what Song and Jui wanted to say here. That was why he opened his mouth first. I'm really sorry. When the right time comes, I'll tell you both everything. So please, don't ask me anything for the time being. When Jin made a request in a grave voice, Jui nodded her head first. Eventually, Song nodded as well. If you're saying that, then you must have your reasons. I understand, young man. Jin then turned his head in the direction where the boss was. Although the situation had become complicated somewhat, his plan of killing the boss hadn't changed. He wanted to kill the boss by himself, if possible. Also, there was another thing he had to, meaning these two couldn't be here. Jin looked back at Song. With what has happened here, I think it's impossible to continue on with this raid anymore. For the time being, you two should leave the dungeon and contact the association. I'll remain here and search for other survivors. Song instantly realized what Jin was trying to do.
He's going to close the gate all by himself.
Even from the older man's perspective, doing that would ensure the least amount of suspicion.
That would be a good idea. Miss Jui, let's go ahead first.
Jui hesitated after hearing Song's recommendation, but then she quickly ran at Jin.
You haven't forgotten about our dinner date, right?
Jin smiled gently. I haven't. I still need to ask you for my change, remember?
In that case, you honor that promise, okay? I'll be waiting on the outside.
Jin nodded his head, and that must have relaxed her a lot since she took a step back without saying anything else. Even as she was escaping from the dungeon, she continued to look behind her several times. Jin only let out a sigh once the shadows of the two people were gone for good. Whew. And he really wanted to hide for as long as possible, but in the end, he got discovered. There were 2 eyewitnesses, so it was impossible to talk his way out of this one now. It's not like I can threaten Jui or Mr. Song either. Killing the rank B should be seen as self-defense. He had 2 eyewitnesses, so no worries there. The real issue would be how a rank E managed to kill a rank B. I guess being a reawakened is the most plausible excuse there is, huh? He decided to go with that then. He'd reveal himself to be a reawakened hunter and get himself a reassessment test. No one would believe him even if he told them about the system or leveling up and all the other stuff. There was also no reason for him to reveal that information voluntarily anyway. After he decided to go through with the reassessment test, he kind of felt relieved on one hand, and a bit wistful on the other. And here I was, hoping to do the test only after I got even stronger. But, since when did the world move as one wished? There was nothing he could do about it now. I wonder, how high will my new rank be? Since he fought on equal footing with Kang, was he slightly stronger than a rank B hunter at this moment? He thought that he had gotten really strong now, but as it turned out, those high-ranking hunters starting from B all the way up to S were indeed all freakish existences, far surpassing his imaginations. Oh well. Let's think about the future once I get out of here. For the time being, he had to get rid of the boss first. The dungeon that emitted magical energy waves equaling a rank D only had a bunch of rank E goblins inside. In that case, there was a good chance that the magical energy wave was actually coming solely from the boss. A boss like that should give him enough experience points for a nice level up. But before I do that, there was something else he had better confirm first. Jin pushed his perception to the limit and carefully combed over all auras present within the dungeon. Found you. Jin began walking to his new destination. On the way, he discovered the cold corpses of Kim Son-sik and the other hunter. This was the power of a high-ranked hunter. If such a hunter really wanted to, then killing a few lower-ranked hunters could be done in the blink of an eye. Jin's expression hardened as he walked past them. Now we know what happened to Mr. Kim. Would have told them Kang had a heart attack before the fight started. We could say it was a rare heart condition. That's the end of chapter 33, everyone. Onwards to chapter 34. And actually, what would be the halfway mark? Chapter 35? I think chapter 35 would be the halfway mark, and then the remaining chapters would be there. Okay, I think we're making some good time with this. Chapter 34. A short while later, Jin discovered a lone convict struggling on the ground not too far from him. His arms and legs were all tied up with a rope, and there was a gag placed in his mouth. It was as Kang said just before his final breath. I've tied up the assaulter not too far from here. There's another word being used here for assaulter. So I'm just using this one in place of it because, like I said, I'm not comfortable saying it. I've tied up the assaulter not too far from here. I was thinking of disposing of him last, after the victim's father asked me to make him suffer for a bit." Kang stopped breathing after those words. The convict began to struggle even harder after seeing Jin. It was as if he was asking to be freed as soon as possible. Now that Jin took a closer look, it was none other than the same guy who threw a dirty wink at Dewey earlier on. As soon as Jin pulled the gag off the convict's mouth, he breathed in and out heavily and widened his eyes. That crazy bastard Kang Tae-6 killed everyone! He killed everyone! What the heck happened? Did he leave? There's blood on your clothes! Did you get done in by it? Did you get done in by him too? Jin didn't reply and simply raised his head to stare straight ahead, towards where the boss was. Untie me first! Oh wait, the convict's words poured out in great urgency. Don, it's good to see you. We are currently on chapter 34. We'll get to 35, I'll take a short break, and then we'll continue with the rest of the chapters. The convict's words poured out in great urgency. Untie me first! Hurry! We gotta escape before Kang shows up! Darn it! There's some kind of magical energy flowing in the ropes, and I can't tear them apart! You have some kind of a weapon with you, right? Why aren't you saying anything? Can't you hear me? When a bottom feeder hunter from the association continued to ignore him, the convict forgot about the position he was in and began frowning in dissatisfaction. Remaining expressionless until then, Jin finally opened his mouth. The boss should be just up ahead. What? A confused, questioning expression floated up on the face of the convict. Feels like it's a bit stronger than a regular rank D dungeon boss, too. I'm getting really curious about its attack patterns, you see. The convict listened to those words and lost his cool, roaring out at the top of his voice, "What the heck are you even talking about?" Jin calmly continued on with what he wanted to say. Before all that, though, I gotta ask you about something. You remember the girl you assaulted before? Like I said, another word being used here for assaulting. What? Which one are you talking about? You a family member of the victim? Jin's brows quivered. Just now, this man asked, which one? And that caught my attention too. Bruh, what you mean, which one? You mean you lost track? Lost track? Just now, this man asked, which one? Rather than answering with yes or no, meaning he has heard well more than just one or two girls. Hunters possessed extraordinary strength, so if they wanted to, they could become a horrifying monster at any time. And this bastard used that strength to violate women until now. With that, Jin's mind was made up. He coldly stared down at the convict and spoke. Now I know. So there's that. What? Before the convict uttered out more rubbish, Jin swiftly gagged the bastard again. Then he began slowly dragging the convict by the ankles towards the boss room. The convict struggled even more desperately as he got dragged away. Both of his wide-open eyes were now completely bloodshot. Not even slightly fazed by the criminal's desperate struggle, Jin successfully dragged him into the boss room. And inside the boss room, there was a large group of hobgoblins waiting for their arrival. These monsters reputedly enjoyed snacking on human entrails, apparently. The convict finally realized what Jin was planning to do here. He cried out and shook his head around wildly after seeing the group of hobgoblins. The blue convict's pants began dyeing in a yellow color as well. Jin took a deep breath, and he chucked the convict among the waiting hobgoblins. Picking up on the smell of a fresh, living prey, hobgoblins pounced on the convict all at once and began tearing into his stomach. As the convict desperately struggled on and thrashed about, the vessels in his eyes burst open one by one, dyeing his eyes utterly crimson red. Even though the convict gradually... Sorry, I thought I heard something outside my room. Even though the convict gradually lost his consciousness, hobgoblins greedily and restlessly tore into him. Thought I was going to say Jin took a deep breath and swallowed his dry spit. I would have screamed if it said that. given this novel's history. Even though the convict gradually lost his consciousness, hobgoblins greedily and restlessly tore into him. Just what would it feel like to be devoured alive by the disgusting monsters? Jin frowned deeply as he quickly scanned the interior of the room, searching for the boss. There it is. A huge hobgoblin, definitely the boss of this dungeon, sat arrogantly over yonder, on the other side of the boss room. With its subordinates all too preoccupied with the fresh prey, there was not one guard around the boss itself, which meant that this was the perfect opportunity. Dash. Jin immediately dashed past the hobgoblins in the blink of an eye and arrived before the boss. Arrived before the boss. The surprised hobgoblin boss quickly stood up, but before it could complete the action, its head fell and rolled on the ground. Plop. Tumble, tumble.
You've killed the owner of this dungeon. Level up.
Ah, hang on a sec. Only after he had sliced the boss's head off did Jin remember the existence of the runestone. There was no need to lure them out with a bait, was there? I could have just learned the sneak skill and sneaked closer, couldn't I? Jin shifted his gaze over to what little remained of the convict and clicked his tongue. Of course, he wasn't feeling any sympathy for the bastard there. Well, whatever. In any case, his plan was a success. Part 5, Cogwheel. Mind you, we are still within Chapter 34. Apologies, family came in about lunch. Perfect. Once I get done with Chapter 35, I'll eat my lunch and then we'll come back and pick up with the rest of the chapters. Works out perfectly. Part 5, Cogwheel. It wasn't difficult to deal with the group of confused and leaderless hobgoblins. The hobgoblins ran around trying to escape from Jin, but were all hunted down soon afterwards. When he killed the very last one, another feel-good message popped into his view.
Level up.
It rose again. His expression brightened up after this rather unexpected reward of the day's labor fell into his lap. Jin cleaned all the blood off the poisoned fang of Kasaka, and along with all the magic crystals extracted from the hobgoblins, stored them inside his inventory, before summoning his status window. Name, Sung Jinu. Level 27. Class None. Title Slaughterer of Wolves. HP 5114. MP 548. Tiredness 0. Stats Strength 72. Stamina 43. Agility 82. Intelligence 39. Perception 69. Available points to distribute 5. Physical damage reduction 20%. Skills, passive skills, unknown level max. Tenacity level 1. Active skills, dash level 1. Intimidation level 1. Equipped items, Gatekeeper's Necklace A rank. Before he knew it, his level was almost near the 30 mark. Jin wasn't expecting much from this dungeon at the time of hunting down the weak goblins by the entrance. But, well, he got a level up by killing the hobgoblin boss, and then another one for hunting down every single one of the hobgoblin underlings as well. His level rose up by 2 in such a short time. What a lucky day it was for him, every single strong monster being in the boss room and all. No, hang on a bit here. It's a bit too much to call this good luck, huh? 3 diverging pathways and the difficulty of the boss room. If the low-ranked hunters got too conceited about hunting down weak goblins and arrogantly stepped into the boss room, then they might have met with a serious accident from the appearance of all these hobgoblins. Unlike the goblins, hobgoblins were pretty tough monsters to contend with. There are some instances of hobgoblins appearing in dungeons full of goblins, but, well, it was still very rare to see a big group of hobgoblins in a single location as it was in the case of this dungeon. Really now, it was utterly impossible to predict what might happen inside a dungeon. Family came to me about food again. Chicken wrap. Well, really now, it was utterly impossible to predict what might happen inside a dungeon. Someone's lucky day might turn into someone else's worst nightmare. The only protection one had in this place was the one's own power. That was why Jin wanted to get stronger. Surviving inside a dungeon was one thing, but what if there was a dungeon break near the hospital where his mother was staying? What if he got sneak attacked by a monster while out walking on the street? No, the monsters wouldn't be the only problems to worry about either. Hunters were also dangerous existences, just as much as the monsters themselves. Even if various organizations were trying to manage them, there would always be a limit. Indeed, he needed to possess the necessary strength to protect himself. There are limits to how powerful a hunter can become. However, there was no such thing for himself. Theoretically, he could grow stronger indefinitely as long as his stats increased and he found the right type of equipment to wear. And today, one more method of getting stronger had been added to his arsenal. It was none other than the rune stones. Jin pulled out the rune stone from his pocket. Just like with other items, the information on the stone floated up like a hologram projection.
Runestone. Stealth. You can absorb this skill by breaking this runestone.
To those who didn't know, this thing would have come across as a small pebble with weird letters carved on the surface. But if you were a hunter, I'm hearing thundering in the background, you'd be salivating like crazy regardless of what your rank was. High-ranked hunters would have used it for themselves, while the lower-ranked ones would have sold it to the higher-ranked hunters. And a runestone containing rare skills, such as this one with the stealth skill, would have especially fetched a large amount of money. When placed in an auction, this particular stone should fetch at least a few billion won, and when sold through the black market, several times more than that. Also, let me not overlook what you said, Don. I'm annoyed that they removed this from the anime. Especially after what he did to Hwang Dong-suk, it would show viewers just how low Jin can go. True, but part of me wants to believe that for the anime, they didn't want it to be too dark of a series. Granted, there's a lot of gore and violence in it, but they probably didn't want to go that far. But who knows the reason why they kind of differed? Who knows? There was only one reason why. Oh, wow, that is some loud thunder. Really loud thunder. There was only one reason why it would be more expensive on the black market. Because there would be no official record of who bought what with how much money. That was why. Having a hidden skill was the same thing as possessing one more powerful weapon. Just like how Kang had been hiding his stealth skill. If it weren't for his high perception stat, Jin would have been killed for sure. Thinking about that sent chills down his spine. Let's forget about selling this. I can always make money later on. He'd not fall for the monetary temptation right now. His current priority was to become stronger than ever before, after all. That should be what most YouTubers go after. Don't worry about the monetary temptation. Your priority should become a better YouTuber. So you can have, get more viewers and such. It's the people who go after the money. Those are the ones you get entire deep dives done on. Sorry, little side thing for myself. There was no need to even mention just how useful this rare stealth skill would prove to be in the future. And to think, this little stone is worth several houses. No, several buildings even. Still, Jin quickly did something he'd never have dreamed of doing in the past. When he squeezed his hand tightly, the runestone shattered into pieces without much resistance. Crack! A reddish aura seeped out from the cracks of the runestone and slowly wrapped around his body. It was almost the same as when receiving the effects of the healing magic, only the color was wrong, being red and not blue. In any case, it wasn't a bad sensation. The reddish aura circling around him smoothly entered through his nose and was absorbed into his lungs. Right away, he could sense an unknown power well up inside of him. A familiar mechanical beep went off shortly afterwards, too.
Ding! You've learned skill, stealth. You can now use skill stealth.
Nice. He managed to successfully absorb the skill. He was feeling rather nervous since this would be his first time using a runestone to learn a skill. But the whole process turned out to be unexpectedly quick and simple. So, does this mean I can use stealth now? His heart began pounding harder from the sense of accomplishment after learning a rare skill. Well, the wise elders, they said that seeing was believing, so Jin activated his new skill right away. Stealth. Just as he finished thinking about activating it, his body vanished from his own view. From the tips of his fingers right down to his toes, every part of him became transparent. What a strange feeling it was, unable to see his own hands right in front of him. What would happen if I do this? Since he thought about it, Jin quickly summoned his dagger from the inventory to confirm. Then, he sensed gripping something in his hand. Rather mystifyingly, though, he could sense it, but couldn't see it. As expected. Just like the knife that Kang had been carrying around, the stealth skill was also applied to his poison fang of Kasaka. As he thought, it wasn't that Kang's weapon was strange, it was simply the power of this skill instead. I wonder, just how far does this skill cover? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of chapter 34. Onwards to chapter 35. After that, I'll take a quick lunch break, and then we'll come right back. And that whole period of where I'm eating, I'll get rid of it and post like I do every other read-through I've been doing. So that way, for people who watch this later on, They don't need to worry about going on a lunch break. They can just continue on to Chapter 35. Chapter 35. Jin picked a pebble up from the ground, and it too disappeared from the sight. Can I do that with this too? He got even more curious, and so he reached out and touched the shoulder of the dead hobgoblin. But nothing happened next. It seemed that there definitely was a limit to this skill. At least he was now sure of the clothes he wore and the objects held in his hand being affected by the skill. It happened right then. You've exhausted all of your mana and skill stealth will be deactivated. Eh? But suddenly, stealth came undone. But it's been only a few seconds, though. Jin had been moving his body this way and that, trying to familiarize himself with the state of being cloaked. But after the skill came undone all by itself, he hurriedly summoned the skill list and confirmed the details with a flustered look on his face. Skills. Passive skills. Unknown level max. Tenacity level 1. Active skills. Dash level 1. Intimidation level 1. Stealth level 1. What he sought was the information on the stealth skill. The relevant words quickly floated up before his eyes. Skill, stealth, level 1. Active skill. Mana required to activate, 200. Simultaneously cloaks the body and hides all traces of the skill holder. During its activation, 10 mana will be spent every second. He needed 200 mana to activate, and a further 10 would be spent every bloody second? No wonder his MP couldn't hold up. MP, 7 out of 548. His remaining mana of 7 looked rather pitiful in his eyes. It's really all spent up, huh? Currently, the maximum amount of mana he could store was around 550. If he were to activate the skill once, he'd be able to maintain the cloaked state for around 35 seconds. But if he were to use other skills, then he'd not even get the full 35 seconds either. Now that I think about it, even Kang canceled his stealth pretty quickly, didn't he? He didn't do that accidentally, as it turned out. If a high-ranking hunter like Kang couldn't keep the skill going for long, then it meant that lower-ranked hunters wouldn't even be able to use it. My mana is the issue here, huh? Until now, he had invested all of his stat points on every stat other than intelligence, and not even once did his MP value rise up from doing that. In other words, he now needed to raise the intelligence stat as well. I guess it's about time I did that. Still, it kind of felt like a waste investing his hard-earned stat points on a non-combat related stat just so he could use a skill for a few seconds longer. Compared to other stats, intelligence just has too low of an efficiency. Strength, stamina, agility, and perception. He had personally felt the effects of those 4 stats increasing. As they increased in value, he became physically stronger and stronger. The only stat that he couldn't sense any tangible change taking place inside him was this intelligence, although it had climbed up a bit now. I mean, it's now almost 4 times the value compared to when I was a level 1. If he were to really dig around and find the difference, then it'd be his increased MP value. That was all, really. So, to invest his points on this stat based only on a single result like that, it's just too wasteful. Those points would become his flesh and blood if he were to invest them elsewhere. The only conclusion he could draw here was to continue on with his leveling up until he no longer had to worry about his MP. Meanwhile, he'd spend his precious stat points on other, better stats. My stat points. He abruptly recalled that he still had 5 extra points he got as the reward from the emergency quest. He pondered for a second or two on whether he should invest that on intelligence, but in the end, he spent 3 points on strength and the other 2 on stamina. Stats. Strength 75, stamina 45, agility 82, intelligence 39, perception 39. Available points to distribute, 0. Reduction in physical damage, 20%. As I thought, numbers ending in 5s are the best. As a satisfied smile formed on Jin's face, rumble. The earthquake inside the interior of the dungeon became too severe for him to ignore. Is it the 1-hour mark already? There was no more time to waste here. Jin closed the status window. He had been deliberately wasting time, waiting for the gate to nearly close, but if he stayed here for a second longer, he might get trapped inside, unable to leave forever. Before leaving, Jin turned around and swept his gaze around the boss room one more time. I extracted all the magic crystals and... Well, it looked like he hadn't missed a thing. After confirming this fact, he rapidly disappeared down the exit. Rumble! As if to warn those still inside that the gate was about to close, the dungeon began shaking even harder than before. With excellent timing, agents from the association's investigation department arrived in front of the gate. Their eyes grew real round after spotting Jin leisurely exiting from the gate as it gradually closed behind him. Hunter Nim, are there any other survivors beside you? No one else. Eh? The expressions of the agents hardened in an instant. 9 people entered it, yet only 3 walked out alive. This undoubtedly qualified as a huge incident. What with several similarly bad incidents occurring within a single district, it was little wonder why these association agents felt like they had stepped on an almighty pile of dog poo at this moment. It is literally here saying that. They wanted to make sure there were no other survivors, but the gate closed on them, so that was no longer possible, too. This was precisely the reason why Jin waited around until the time limit was almost up, however. Well, I can't let them know that there indeed was a survivor, now can I? With this, the testimonies of the 3 survivors would have to suffice. One of the agents spoke with a complicated tone of voice. Just now, the investigation department has received a telephone call from the chairman of the Gyumgang Industries, wishing to hand himself over. It was here that Song entered into the conversation. The chairman of the Gyumgang Industries, you say? He's the father of the victim, and he allegedly had paid off the hunter Kang Tae-sik from the monitoring division to murder the convicts. Oh. The chairman had confessed to everything after he heard that Kang Tae-sik was indeed successful in killing the assaulter. Another word used for assaulting here, just saying. Although it wasn't Kang, but me. Cops headed there, and the association came here, it seemed. Jin listened quietly before asking a question. If that's the case, there's no problem on this side, isn't that right? At Jin's question, the agents formed troubled expressions. Yes, basically. There was a clear evidence of Kang's crimes, and these 3 people fought Kang in order to survive. Just as Jin asked, there was nothing here that could be seen as problematic. Except for one thing. One of the agents asked the part that felt the most suspicious to him. Just who delivered the final killing blow to Mr. Kang Tae-sik, who was a rank B hunter? The agents had only arrived at the scene not too long ago, and they were not briefed on the minute details of the situation yet. Oh, well, the distance from here to the association headquarters is really far, so it can't be helped, huh? It's already quite commendable that they arrived here before the gate already closed. They surely had to... I think this might be Jin. Oh, well, the distance from here to the association headquarters is really far, so it can't be helped. Can't be helped, huh? It's really already quite commendable that they arrived here before the gate actually closed. They surely had to leave the HQ and drive super fast to get here in time as soon as receiving the call. Hints of fatigue were clearly visible on the faces of the agents. Just before Jin was about to speak the truth, he recalled the face of Jino. What a missed opportunity this is. It looks like I won't be helping that kid out with his raid quota after all. By making an excuse of him being a reawakened hunter and going ahead with the reassessment test, he'd not be able to humor Jino's plan anymore. What Jino looked for was a low-ranked hunter that possessed incredible skills. As soon as Jin's ranking was reassigned and it dramatically rose up, everything would have been for nothing. However, what was up here? When Jin imagined the dejected, depressed face of Jino, he found that sight rather humorous instead of feeling apologetic. Sure, Jin was kind of bummed out about the promised building, but oh well. Well, naught I can do here now. Jin thought as such and was about to open his mouth, but then it was me. His head naturally swerved towards the source of that voice, and he saw Jui, her wide-open eyes full of surprise, staring at Song. But, Anjusi. Before Jin could ask what his intentions were, Song took the initiative and walked closer to the agents. I'm the one who killed Kang Tae-sik. The questioning agent still didn't look convinced, however. Song Jul Hunternim, are you saying that you brought down Kang Tae-sik Hunternim? His suspicions had merit. Not only was Song a rank C hunter, Kong, rare. What is it with me and words right now? I must be hungry. Not only was Song Jiul a rank C hunter, but he also lost his left arm as well. On the other hand, wasn't Kang Tae-sik often referred to as a high-ranked hunter, someone who was ranked B? The power of high-ranked hunters easily exceeded one's imaginations. The accepted norm was that the difference in strength between a rank B and a rank C was far, far wider than that between a rank C and a rank D. It was here that Song began chuckling amiably. Have you all forgotten who is behind me? Ah! Just as the gazes of everyone focused on her, Jui's face reddened and she quickly lowered her head. Jui was a B-ranked hunter. She hadn't been mentioned until now because her class was not combat-related, but when looking only at her rank, then she was a high-ranked hunter, just like Kang had been. Why wouldn't a rank C hunter be able to defeat a rank B hunter when a rank B healer was lending her aid from the side? The agents finally formed expressions of understanding. Taking the opportunity born from the momentary confusion, Jin stood really close to Song and whispered to the older man. Why are you lying to them? Song replied back in a whisper as well. I thought there must be a good reason why you were trying to conceal your abilities. Did I overstep my boundaries? Of course he didn't. Thanks to him, Jin would get to avoid dealing with many inconvenient matters. This was the reason why one could never discount wisdom formed from years of experience. No, you didn't. I've received a lot of your help until now, so I'm glad to hear I was able to help you out now, even if it's just a small thing. Meanwhile, one of the agents walked closer to the two men. Mr. Song Jiul, why don't you come with us? Help us for a minute or two with writing up the report. All right, let's get going then. Song left for the association along with the agents, and before anyone knew it, only Jin and Jui remained on the scene. The sun had set a long time ago. Jui must have found Jin and the somewhat altered aura he emitted a bit foreign, because she hesitated greatly before cautiously approaching him.
Would you like to walk with me for a little while?
Is she asking me? Is she talking about that dinner date? He was starving after moving around for a bit today, so he found her suggestion to his liking. Jin agreed with a welcoming expression. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, let's. Sorry, I had to tell. As if they had made a promise earlier, The two young people began quietly walking side by side until under the soft lights of the street lamps. Juie's eyes remained fixed to her toes, because if she tried to raise her head, her gaze automatically drifted towards to her side. She tried very hard not to think about it, but it was of no use. In the past, she found him comfortable to talk to, but now the current Jin was overflowing with this certain sense of power. She found it much harder to talk to him now as a result.
Just what happened?
He was strong enough to subdue a rank B hunter without too much trouble. He had changed so drastically. Since he requested her to keep it a secret, she wasn't planning to pry. But his amazing transformation kept tugging at the corner of her mind. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of chapter 35. We will continue with the remaining chapters, chapter 36 all the way to chapter 40, after I'm done with my lunch break. So I'm going on a lunch break. I'm going on a lunch break right now, and I will come back after I'm done eating so we can finish up with the rest of these chapters. All in all, I'd say we're still making some very, very good time. This might end up being shorter than my last session with you guys, but I'll be back in a little while. Hold tight, everyone. All right, this was a bit of a longer wait than I was expecting, a longer lunch break. I got my other chicken wrap. This is a cold chicken wrap, so I can easily eat it after I'm done with this session. I got it sitting right there, sealed inside, got the sauce all taken care of, took a sip of my lemonade. We're good to go. Let's continue with where I left off. Chapter 36.
I wish you'd at least talk to me.
Jui kind of felt that Jin was being rather cold-hearted here, not saying a single word until now. In the end, Jui stopped walking first, and with some difficulty broke the ice.
Actually, I think it'll be impossible for me to eat anything today. Let me return this to you in the meantime.
Jui handed over a magic crystal to Jin, who was none other than the same crystal he entrusted to her back in the underground temple. The tips of Jui's fingers were trembling as she handed over the crystal.
That incident had been only a few days ago.
Oh, that incident had only been a few days ago, and she had to go through another one today. Jui was the type of person to get scared quite easily. He could easily figure out what she meant by being unable to eat anything. But today isn't the only day, you know. There's no need to return this to me now. Jui shook her head slowly.
I'm going back home next week.
He heard that she was quitting the life of a hunter, but now it seemed that she was leaving the city altogether. Jin formed a rueful expression. Is it because of that incident back then?
Well, it's not simply because of that, but
Perhaps she ended up recalling the events of that day. Jui's complexion darkened. Jin quickly changed the topic of their conversation. Where is your family home exactly?
it's in Busan. Actually, Mr. Jin?
Suddenly, Jui's expression became quite serious. Yes? Sensing that the mood had become somber, Jin quickly wiped the smile off his face and formed a serious expression as well. Jui slowly, carefully combed over Jin's face. Back then, when everyone else was trembling from despair, only Jin's eyes burned fiercely with a strong resolve. Jui was nearest to him, so she got to see those eyes.
It was like they were shouting out to the rest of the world so they can hear his will to survive.
And the faint traces of hope those eyes captured managed to save not only her, but many others as well from that place multiple times. No one could imitate what he pulled off back there. When she recalled the events of that day, her heart began beating faster and faster.
No, I can't.
She had no regrets over quitting the life of a hunter, since it didn't even suit her personality to begin with. However, she couldn't help but feel really bad after realizing that it'd be tough to meet Jin ever again.
Will he think of me as a weird person if I ask him about meeting each other again?
It was rather unfortunate, but there were some things in this world that she couldn't really do anything about. Having any regrets over such matters would only end up tormenting her. In the end, Jui simply formed a disarming smile and lightly shook her head.
Nah, it's nothing really. If you come down to Busan one day, please give me a call. I'll buy you a really good sushi.
Sounds good. When Jin formed a smile, Jui smiled back at him. And so, Jui didn't get to say the words she truly wanted to say. She simply performed a short goodbye and turned around to leave. That thunder is getting really loud outside. The way back home never felt this long to her before. After sending Jui home, Jin also returned to his place. An old, decrepit apartment building, visible even from a distance. His place was on the 8th floor. As he walked past the parked cars to enter the building itself, the voice of an old man stopped him in his tracks.
Young man from 902.
It was coming from the old security guard. He'd been around this place for a very long time. Jin was familiar with the older man, so he greeted it without hesitation. You haven't gone home yet, old man?
I'm on the night watch duty today.
Uh-huh. Jin lightly nodded his head. The old security guard immediately brought out a parcel from the guard post.
Jin, this came for you today.
Ah, thank you. The sender written on the slip was the association. Oh, so it was today, eh? The date that his replacement phone from the association was supposed to arrive, that was. Jin took out his brand new phone from the box. It glittered softly under the light. He remembered hearing not too long ago that, due to the continued extreme level of interest towards everything related to hunters, the number of non-awakened people trying to get their hands on one of these phones was on the explosive rise.
Never mind those who wish to buy one. Just what are those idiot hunters thinking, trying to pilfer a few and selling them off?
The old saying was, oh wait, this was Jin, not the old guy. Never mind those who wish to buy one. Just what are those idiot hunters thinking, trying to pilfer a few and selling them off? The old saying went that it's not the country that lacked money, but that there were way too many crooks instead. Whether it was inside the association or in the military, or any place where people gathered in some numbers, corruption would always cause problems. Because of corruption, money would leak out, and the promised financial support would decrease as much as the amount of leaked money, which would make the overall situation even worse. This would eventually mean that those who were supposed to benefit from the system in a rightful manner got screwed royally in the behind. That was why I got worried, but fortunately enough, there were seemingly no problems with his new phone. While waiting for the elevator to arrive, he had nothing else to do, so he switched the phone on. And well, there was a mountain of unanswered messages and missed calls. Will I even be able to check all these out? Funnily enough, 2 numbers kept popping up as he took a look at the screen. Both of them seemed unfamiliar to him. One called him a lot, while the other sent a ton of text messages. But I don't know anybody who might call me this many times, though. Jin tilted his head slightly before deciding to check the text messages.
Hello, I'm from that hospital. If you have free time this week. Was I bothering you? I just thought we could chat for a...
He belatedly remembered a certain person's face. Indeed, it was the face of that pretty nurse from the hospital, the one asking for his number back then. Was her name Choi Yura? He couldn't say that she was bothering him, but he got this feeling that the moment he replied back to her, his life might get really and unnecessarily complicated in a heartbeat. Okay, so I'll pass. Next up, the number that called him repeatedly. Jin pressed the call button. A fairly new and catchy pop song noisily greeted him as a ringtone. Hearing that, Jin could more or less guess who this number belonged to. The call was connected pretty quickly. Hello? Hello? Yup, it indeed was him. Jin leaked a wry chuckle after his guess was proven correct. It's me! From today onwards, call me only on this number. Oh wait, it's me. From today onwards, call me only from this number. Ah, you finally got your phone, Youngnim. Of course, it was none other than you, Jino. Jin did write down the boy's contact number somewhere, but he had never called it before, so it was a little wonder why he failed to recognize it. Jino spoke with a rather excited tone of voice. I was actually thinking of giving you a call just now, young Nim. I've finished recruiting the team members, so I'll be coming around tomorrow morning to fetch you. Just from hearing that voice, Jin could picture Jino's happy face. Jin also chuckled lightly. All right, see you tomorrow then. Click. As Jin ended the call, the elevator arrived on the ground floor and its doors slid open. Cling! Finally, the raid would start for real from tomorrow onwards. His heart beat faster just from thinking about it. Let's level up as quickly as I can. He'd raise his levels, enhance all his stats, and become stronger than everyone out there. Once he became a truly powerful hunter, he'd be able to get his hands on money, fame, and influence. And tomorrow would be his first step towards that goal. The east of the United States. Late at night. Huang Dong-su was the main hunter of the guild Scavenger, one of the top guilds in the entire USA. Not only that, but he was also an S rank as well. And just before he went to sleep, he received a phone call informing him of a shocking matter. My older brother is dead? I want you to speak slowly and tell me everything in detail. Got that? The name of his older brother was Huang Dong-suk. Apparently, he entered a C-rank gate and lost his life. My older brother and his 8 teammates all died, and only 2 others escaped unhurt. And the two who survived were only a rank D and a bloody E. Something smelled fishy here. The older brother Huang Dong-su knew would never sacrifice his own life for a far weaker teammate. Also, what if that said teammate happened to be a temp? There was no need to even mention it. However, only the ranks D and E walked away alive, while his older brother and other C-ranked hunters all perished in that dungeon. There's something going on here. Huang Dong-su's eyes became incredibly sharp. Right now, he was in a far-off foreign nation after being scouted away by one of America's top guilds. But back when he was still in Korea, his brother did everything possible to look after him and be a good brother. He might not have been a good human being, but he was a great, precious brother. I was planning to invite him here once I've secured my foothold, but now... To think he'd meet an accident before that happened. Dong-su bit his lower lip. Fax me all the information on the 2 surviving members. My number is... Huang Dong-su ended the phone call and then called his manager next. The call got through pretty quickly.
Mr. Huang, you're calling me quite late. What's going on?
Oh wait,
Mr. Huang, you're calling me quite late. What's going on?
Laura, what would happen if I were to kill some people in Korea?
Do you really mean that?
Yes. There was a bout of silence before the woman's voice continued on.
The states have yet to sign an agreement to exchange hunter criminals with South Korea. Mr. Wong, you are now an American citizen, so you'll get a hearing in a U.S. court instead. If we have a chat with the relevant government officials, then your overall sentence should be pretty light.
Good to hear that. Looks like I'll have to make a trip to Korea for a while. Something happened there. Can you clear up my schedule for a bit?
However, Mr. Huang, if you leave so suddenly like this, the operations in the guild will grind to a halt. Can you inform me of the nature of this something?
It's a personal matter. Of course, I'm not going to harm the guild in any shape or form. Tell me how far my schedule's been booked for.
You're fully booked out for the next 2 months.
2 months, is it? Fine. After that, I'll need some free time, so don't schedule anything. I don't need a long time either. Just 2 weeks. I only need 2 weeks to pop in and out of Korea.
Understood. What should I tell the upper management?
Tell them I'm going to my brother's funeral. Also going on a trip to cheer myself up as well.
Okay, will do. By the way, Mr. Huang, if there is anything I can assist you with...
Click. Dong-su abruptly ended the call. Didn't matter whether it was some cheering up or an advice. He was not in the mood to hear either of those at the moment. It was then the fax had arrived. Dong-su took a look at the documents arriving one by one. On the white pages, photos of 2 hunters, their names, and their brief bio could be seen. The rank D hunter, Yu Jin-oh, and a rank E Sung Jin-woo. Huang Dong-su alternated his gaze on the 2 men's photos and gritted his teeth in determination. I'm sure I'll get some answers from either one if I ask them personally. And if he found anything even remotely suspicious, then... You will regret coming out of that place alive. I'll make sure of it. The edges of Dong-su's eyes reddened slightly. Part 6. Strange Raids. Jin went downstairs after receiving the phone call, only to find a huge van parked outside. Oh wait, strange raids. Morning! Jin went downstairs after receiving the phone call, only to find a huge van parked outside. Even before he could say, "Who the heck do you think you are to block someone else's exit?" the driver's window rolled down automatically, and the brightly smiling face peeking out from behind belonged to Jin-oh. "Young Nim, get in!" Jin-oh stuck his hand out the open window and slapped the side of the van. Since the kid was excitedly declaring his intentions to come and fetch him last night, Jin would half expected to see a Benz or something, but no matter how much he looked, it was a normal-looking passenger van. Sure, it was on the biggish side, but still. Didn't you say you're the second-born of a Chaewol? I thought it'd be too eye-catching if we used my car. I bought this guy not too long ago to use during our raids. Only now did Jin understand the reason for all of this shininess coming from the van itself. It's Brent speaking new, that's why. From his sincerity, as seen from the boy arriving at Jin's place the first thing in the morning, to his cautiousness as seen from the kid purchasing a new van just to avoid being too conspicuous, Jin-oh was doing his best to make sure that everything was going smoothly. It also demonstrated that his hopes and expectations riding on these upcoming raids were absolutely huge. Jin-oh misunderstood the reason why Jin was taking this time to check out the new van and wordly asked, "By the way, don't you like this type of vehicle, young Nim?" Not at all. Jin declared as so and climbed into the front passenger seat. Okay, we're setting off now, young Nim. Jinno must have been feeling really excited because he kept humming to himself while twirling the steering wheel this way and that. They drove for a while before coming to a stop in an empty lot. Young Nim, we've arrived! There were 8 people waiting for the duo in this meeting place. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of chapter 36. Onwards to chapter 37. Chapter 37. The gate scene behind the waiting group seemed a bit too small for a C rank. After Jin and Jinno exited from the van, the waiting hunters quickly gathered around them. For some reason, there were almost no normal people in this group. Most of them seemed to have some difficulty with their mobility. There was one person who looked to be suffering from an illness, while another was clearly an alcoholic. Not only that, there was an underage girl, too. Someone that neither the association nor the guild would admit to their ranks. From a casual glance, she looked to be a high schooler. Is it okay to bring a child? Is it okay to bring a child here? I asked for professional advice, and apparently there's no problem according to the law, young Nim. Actually, the only reason why people didn't hire underage hunters is that there would be heck to pay if something went sideways. Jin nodded his head. In that case, it should be fine. Really now, only Jin and Jinno were going to enter the gates anyways, so the odds of something going wrong were as good as 0%. Indeed, these people were only here to make up the numbers. In order to get the permit to clear a C-rank gate, one needed at least 10 hunters after all. That was why 8 extra people had to be recruited. And sure enough, these 8 understood very well why they were here, too. These people all possessed the hunter license, but couldn't act as one due to their circumstances. Most who answered the call together were suffering from the hardships of life in various ways. Jinno took a step forward. My name is Yu Jinno, and I'll be taking the lead in this operation. And this gentleman here beside me is Sung Jinu under him, who will accompany me to the dungeons. Everyone, your role is to wait outside the gates until we return. One of the hunters cautiously raised his hand. Excuse me, if we really do that, we get 3 million won. No need to participate in any huntings. No actual need to ever enter the dungeon itself. 3 million won per raid. For a payment of simply lending one's name so they would be permitted to enter the gates, it sounded just too good to be true. This man named Yu Jinno didn't even look like that Son Dal character who sold the Taidon River, but the terms on offer were so good that the gathered hunters couldn't help but be anxious. I guarantee you that the terms offered are for real. Jinno stood stiffly, looking rather serious now. Even his expression had become grave. However, you are not to discuss any facet of the events that'll take place here with anyone. Do not forget that the moment you break the vow of secrecy, you'll be forced to pay back 10 times the money you were paid, as per the contract you all signed. Chatter, chatter. Hunters murmured to each other in hushed whispers. Just what were these 2 young hunters planning to do inside the gate that they offered up such enticing terms? They were curious, but no one came out and asked. That was also the part of the vow of secrecy clause within the contract. Absolutely no questioning what happens inside dungeons. Jin didn't want anyone to know of his special constitution, and Jinno wanted to become the master of a guild, so there was a serious need to make sure that none of their teammates blabbered their mouth to someone else. Instead of asking questions, the hunters began whispering to each other now. Still, can those 2 survive a rank C dungeon all by themselves? But they don't look that strong, do they? If they are capable enough to clear a rank C dungeon, wouldn't it be better to enter a large guild and get access to higher ranked dungeons? You're so right about that. They all spoke in a suspicious tone of voice, but not one person said they were quitting. That was par for the course, really. The terms were too good to give up from their perspective. Even Jin got hooked by the promise of the 2 million won, after all. The reason for the extra 1 million won, compared to what Huang Dong-suk had offered, was because of the clause on the participants maintaining their secrecy. While the explanations carried on, the time was being wasted somewhat. Jin confirmed with his watch and spoke to Jinho. We should get started. Understood, Young Nim. Jinho answered right away and clapped his hands in order to draw the attention to himself. Well, that will be all for the explanations. I won't force you to participate. So, is there anyone among you who'd like to quit now? And there's 2 sections of just quiet. Of course, no one raised their hands. Just before the duo tried to enter the gate... Young Nim, hold on for a moment. Recalling something he had completely forgotten about until now, Jinho hurriedly ran back to the van. He then put several things on the entirety of his body and walked back to the gate in an unsteady and difficult fashion. What is that? It's a full set of reinforced armor, crafted by a famous guild of master craftsmen in Italy. Young Nim. It's not Hunter Nim, but Young Nim. Don't you think we need at least this type of equipment if we were to clear a dungeon by ourselves? Jin slowly facepalmed. Simply staring at that hunk of steel covering the kid from the tip of his toes all the way to the crown of his head, Jin felt like his own breathing was getting all choked up and the like. What's the matter, Young Nim? Unable to watch any longer, Jin reached out, yanked loose the longsword attached to Jinho's hip waist, and dropped it to the ground. Huh? Jinho tried to bend down in order to pick up the sword, only to lose his balance and he toppled over ungainly. Plop! Jin did his best to suppress the rising tides of anger and spoke with great difficulty. While I'm still being civil, take them off. Yes. However, after struggling for a bit to stand back up, Jinho called out to Jin. Young Nim? What now? Please help me. I can't stand up. Jin spat out a long sigh while looking at Jinho reaching out to him. Will this be fine, Young Nim? Yeah. In the end, they agreed on the kid wearing a helmet and nothing else. With a satisfied face, Jinho jumped inside the gate. Jin followed in right after without saying anything else. As soon as the 2 men walked into the dungeon one by one, the remaining hunters all slowly shuffled towards the gate. One of them piped up with a worried voice. Judging from the way they acted, they look like a couple of amateurs. Another agreed while staring at the gate surface. You're right. The 2 people's conversations opened the floodgates of words from the remaining hunters. Everyone began speaking their minds now. What will happen if those 2 get killed inside the dungeon? Well, we all got paid the contract signing fee already, so... Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, that's true too.
Wait, what were the names of those 2 again?
Hold on. So it was... A man whose leg was in a plaster quickly pulled his phone out and searched the 2's name online. Yu Jinho, Sung Jinwoo. Another hunter helped the man in crutches to stand straight while peeking into the phone as well. Whether he felt the crutches needed help or was just too impatient to find out the result of the online search, no one could tell. What the heck? The raid leader is only a rank D? Hearing that, everyone else stiffened up from the shock. However, what shocked them even more was the following search result. The dude next to the rank D is only a measly E? Isn't it way too dangerous for a rank E to enter a rank C gate?
1D and E and an E wants to clear a rank C dungeon?
How can that even be possible?
Also, the raid team leader has no record of leading a team before.
What the heck? Why would these 2 young men? Wasn't this no different than committing suicide? It was not for nothing that the association had set a strict rule of 1 needing 10 people, with 5 rank C hunters, at the bare minimum if one wanted to enter a rank C gate. A male hunter sporting a smattering of white hair pulled a cigarette out and lit it up. The arrogance of youth tends to catch so many young people unawares. The cigarette smoke slowly rose up. The hunters all fell silent. They couldn't help but feel awkward and bad, thinking that they were now a part of someone else's suicide attempt. Even if they were total strangers, no one liked seeing another person getting killed right in front of their eyes, or in this case, inside the gate right in front of them. Was that all? What about the rest of the money? They may have received the contract fee up front, but they would have made a lot more by following the two young men around for the next 18 raids. Regrettably, though, the odds of the two people coming back alive were simply too low.
Shouldn't we report this to the association? Even if it's now?
I wonder. Yeah, what if we get blamed for this? Then it happened. Jin and Jinno hurriedly emerged from the gate. Jinno was panting laboriously. Steam slowly rose up from the bodies of two young men carrying tired expressions.
Oh! They managed to escape unhurt.
What a relief!
Hunters welcomed the two with happy expressions. They were all thinking that these two only roamed around the entrance of the dungeon like a pair of lost kids, because the time between them entering and leaving was fairly short. However, what was going on here? The expressions of the hunters gradually changed, because they all heard someone crying out in alarm. That was why. The gate is closing! What? Everyone hurriedly shifted their gaze over to the gate. You know, this little lunch break gave me like a second wind. I feel more invigorated to read the rest of these chapters right now. Thank you, Chicken Wrap.
Oh my gosh! Look! They killed the boss?
The gate was turning blurry and illusory. Just as it would when the boss of the dungeon was killed. While the hunters couldn't hide their shocked disbelief, Jin utterly disregarded their gazes and quietly asked Jinno, "Where's the next one?"
It's about an hour's drive from here, young Nim.
Okay, let's go. Jin and Jinno headed straight to the van. Meanwhile, the 8 hunters stared at the duo's backs with completely dumbfounded faces. Realizing that they weren't following him, Jinno turned his head and called out to them.
Let's hurry up, everyone! We barely have enough time to go to 2 more gates today.
The jaws of the hunters all dropped to the floor from that declaration. The middle-aged hunter with the smattering of white hair, Yoon Gui-won, was so stunned that he failed to realize his cigarette slipping out from his lips and falling to the ground.
Those two managed to clear a rank C dungeon, and they're going for another raid too?
It wasn't only Yoon Gui-won, though. Everyone present was thinking the exact same thing.
Just who are these people?
The first day. A group of zombies rushed at the duo.
Young Nim, they're coming!
Okay. Jin smoothly glided among the rushing zombies. Whenever he brushed past one, the head of an undead creature fell and rolled onto the ground. The number of zombies decreased quite rapidly. Soon, only one remained. Stab! When Jin stabbed his dagger deep into the last monster's chest, a familiar mechanical beep rang inside his head.
Level up.
Jinno, who had been standing at the far back, gasped in admiration and clapped his hands enthusiastically.
Young Nim, you're so cool!
Magic crystals.
Okay.
Jinno quickly pulled the bag out, and began collecting the magic crystals. It was around at this point. The mechanical beeps didn't end with the level up message and continued on.
Ding! You've acquired skill. High-grade dagger technique level 1. Ding! You've acquired skill. Vital points targeting level 1. Ding! Skill. Dash has leveled up.
Jin's expression. You see, this is the reason why I gotta play a game after this. Jin's expression brightened in an instant. I've got new skills. Been a long time too, hasn't it? Feeling rather chuffed with himself, Jin quickly summoned his skill window. Skills. Passive skills. Unknown level max. Tenacity level 1. High grade dagger technique level 1. Active skills. Dash level 2. Intimidation level 1. Stealth level 1. Vital points targeting level 1. The dash skill has leveled up after he constantly used it. Also, in the passive and the active columns, high grade dagger technique and vital points targeting had been added as well. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of chapter 37. Onwards to chapter 38. Skill, dash level 2.
Skill, dash level 2.
Active skill. Mana required to activate, 5. When this skill is activated, your movement speed will increase by 40%. During its activation, 1 mana will be spent every minute. My movement speed has increased. The rate had climbed up from 30 to 40%. The difference in 10% was huge. Well, the leveling up of the skill seemed appropriate since he used the dash skill quite often.
Skill, high grade dagger technique level 1. Passive skill.
And I didn't read it correctly in the last voice. That's on me. My fault.
Passive skill. Mana required to activate, none. Exclusive to daggers. You used daggers for a long time, and now you are able to wield daggers more proficiently. 33% additional damage will be applied when using daggers. Additional damage effect when using daggers.
A dagger of specific skill had been created as a result of him continuously sticking to daggers, it seemed. I guess wielding other types of weapons will be inefficient for me now, huh? Of course, it also meant that the effect when using only the daggers would be even greater. Besides, he was already well used to using daggers. He also had grown fond of the poison fang of Kasuga and wasn't planning to switch to another weapon anytime soon. So this was a huge boon for him. And finally, Jin's eyes gleamed in great anticipation as he checked out the details of the last new skill that appeared.
Skill, vital points targeting level 1. Active skill, mana required to activate, 70. Exclusive to daggers. You've learned the most optimum way to attack with your daggers. This skill will search for the enemy's vital points and inflict fatal damage.
This skill was also exclusive to daggers. The most optimum way to attack. Now that he thought about it, the attack he used to land the final blow to Kang and on that last zombie felt roughly this similar to him. Should he say he definitely felt it in his bones? The moment the dagger pierced through, he knew instinctively that the battle was over. Ah, so that was me aiming at the vital points, huh? To think something he did as an accident would become an actual skill, and he'd get to use it whenever he felt like it. His heart was now beating like crazy. To Jin, who had no other method to attack other than to swing his dagger around this way and that, this attack skill, vital points targeting, was like the sweet, sweet rain falling at the end of a long drought. Very nice. He leveled up and got new skills. It'd only been the first day, yet things were going really smoothly already. The second day. I don't know why I was looking at my webcam like you guys can actually see me. Sorry, force of habit.
Level up. Level up.
With the addition of an attack skill, the speed of hunting had increased rather noticeably.
Level up.
Geno's eyes could only grow wider and wider as he watched countless monsters fall one after the other when Jin accurately attacked their weak points. Young Nim has been hiding such a mad skill until now? Just how far did the set of young Nim's mysterious skills extend to? He couldn't help but admire Jin even more. Seeing that he was able to easily defeat several rank C hunters, he's definitely a rank B or higher. He could only spectate from the sidelines, his jaw slack, since he couldn't guarantee his own fate if he unwisely tried to probe Jin for answers. However, there was a distinct disadvantage associated with the increase in the hunting speed, as it turned out.
You can't use your skills because of a lack of mana. You can't use your skills because of a lack of mana.
Jin frowned quite deeply. Again? In order to fill up his depleted MP, Jin summoned a vial of potion he bought from the store right away.
What is that, young Nim?
Jinno expressed a great interest. Being next to Jin meant that Jinno would get to experience many unbelievable things, of course. And now, he became way too curious about the identity of the blue liquid Jin kept drinking every now and then. What? This? Jin delayed answering and read the information on the potion first.
Item, MP potion. Rank, rarity, E. Type, consumable. A liquid medicine that will restore your mana. Once consumed, it will restore 500 points of MP. Can be stored in your inventory, but it can't be handed over to everyone else. To someone else.
Kitty, it's good to see you. We are currently on chapter 38. We got 39 and then 40. Then I'm going to call it a session. And then I'm going to eat my other chicken wrap. Because I took a break to eat my first chicken wrap. So I've already taken my break. But I got my second win right now. I feel so good. It's good to see you. What's good? Everything is good. Everything is good. But it's good to see you here. Welcome. Are you excited for Thursday? Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Do. I'm sorry. I'm getting sidetracked here. My apologies. The benefits of doing this as a live stream. The explanation said that the potion couldn't be handed over to another person. What will happen if I try to give it to someone else? It was now Jin's turn to become curious, so he handed the vial of the MP potion over to Jinno. But the potion bottle quietly disappeared from the view when placed in Jinno's hand, just like when it appeared the first time.
Is this magic, young Nim?
So this is why it can't be handed over, huh? He learned something new today. An item that could not be handed over would disappear when touched by someone else. If so, what would happen when no hands were involved? Jin accessed the store and purchased a new potion. However, it was not the same MP potion that he brought all the time, but a vial of HP potion containing reddish liquid. As soon as he completed the transaction, the potion automatically appeared in Jin's hand.
Young Nim, that's amazing! The liquid's color changed to red!
Jinno was thinking that the MP potion disappearing and being replaced by an HP potion was some kind of a fancy magic trick. Actually, there was a good reason why Jin changed the type of potion. Let's find out if these potions have an effect on other people. Jin told Jinno to lower his posture. Open your mouth and look up.
Like this, young Nim?
All right. Stay in that position and don't move. Jin tilted the vial of HP potion. The reddish liquid slid down Jinno's mouth. Suddenly, Jinno opened his eyes wider.
What's going on, young Nim? Why do I feel reinvigorated again?
After playing the role of the luggage carrier for a long time, Jinno had been looking rather fatigued, but now his complexion improved in the blink of an eye. Jin smiled in satisfaction. You have a kitten so excited he has canceled playdates, completed his summer work packet easily, and won't stop talking about it? Well, really? I have never had someone this excited for something I'm going to do for the channel like this before. I'm happy. I'm actually I feel so honored. I feel so honored. Thank you. Jin smiled in satisfaction. So, giving it away in this manner works. He got to learn something else just as good again. He should be able to heal a nearby injured person, even if there were no healers present. This would certainly help him out a good deal in the future, no doubt. Just tell me if you're feeling tired, okay? I can spare a ton of this drink, you see. Of course, Jin wasn't doing this out of charity. If the porter got too tired and his movement speed decreased, then it would mean the overall hunting speed would decrease as well, so basically, he'd be the one losing out in the end. His actions were born out of such a chain of thoughts, but Jinno didn't know that.
Young Nim.
Let's go. Jinno became very moved after being subjected to Jin caring about him. Not to mention, he was awed by Jin's amazing abilities, too. Wiping away his tears, Jino hurriedly chased after the departing back of Jin. The third day. Oh, right. Take this, young Nim. Jino rummaged through the equipment bag and then presented a bank balance book with a stamp sealed in together. What's this? It's the money for selling the magic crystals we got during the last 2 days, young Nim. Jin got slightly irritated by the fact that Jino had forgotten this and only decided to give it to him inside a dungeon full of dangerous monsters. But that irritation disappeared almost right away. But 600 million won? When he took a look at the amount written on the book, Jin found quite a substantial amount staring back at him. Are you giving me every cent from the sales of the magic crystals? Jino nodded his head. Yes, young Nim. I'm not doing these raids because I need the money. And besides, you've killed all of the monsters anyways. So how can I ask you for a share like a shameless fool here? Jino's eyes were sparkling like a little kid waiting to be praised. Oh, really? Would you look at this kid now? Jin sensed the change in Jino's attitude after they spent the last couple of days together. Not too long ago, the feeling of the kid forcing himself to come even though he was scared was pretty strong, but now he was acting more like a little brother who couldn't stop worshipping a cool older brother or something. He's got a pretty adorable side to him, no? Jin smirked. Can I really have it then? Do I, the one and only Jino, look like someone who'd go back on his word, young Nim? Jin smiled brightly and patted the bank balance book. Okay, thanks. I'm really grateful for this. No, thank you instead, young Nim. Jino bent his back 90 degrees right away. This was one confusing sight where it was pretty difficult to tell just who was giving who money here. At the same time, outside the dungeon, the waiting teammates also had developed a routine of sorts to while away the hours, to while away the time. As soon... Sorry, I had to put that in there. The waiting teammates also developed a routine of sorts to while away the time. As soon as the raid leader, Jino, and his assistant, Jin, entered the gate, the remaining hunters gathered around, placed a couple of picnic cloths on the ground, and proceeded to do their own things. The most popular activity, of course, was gambling. 5 people were sitting around in one group gambling and chatting away. How many raids did we participate in so far? Let's see. The day before, it was 3. Yesterday, it was 2, and this is the second dungeon today, so it's 7 in total so far. Will it be fine for those 2 to keep clearing dungeons at this breakneck pace? I mean, it's normal to take a week off after clearing one dungeon, no? Hey, don't you worry about those 2. Don't you worry about those 2 now. Can't you see that they literally haven't even broken a sweat every time they come out of a gate? Besides, we get 3 mil every raid, so it's simply an excellent bit of news for us. Oh, it's your turn, my man. Hurry up and deal. Ah, sure. Indeed, both Jin and Jino displayed not one hint of getting fatigued from keeping up with this seemingly exhausting schedule. Of course, these people had no idea, but such a feat was only possible thanks to the miraculous effects of the potions. The duo got to clear over 1/3 of the planned 19 raids in such a short amount of time precisely because of the potions. A short while later, the gate's blackish surface wavered unsteadily and 2 people emerged from there. Oh, the raid leader is out. Okay, let's pack this up. Hunters began getting ready to leave without being ordered to. Hey there, take care of that luggage over there. Wake that person up. Please make sure we're not forgetting anything here. Hunters moved in perfect sync. Even the sleeping hunter woke up and quickly finished getting ready to move to the new location. Okay, let's get going. Everyone was getting more or less used to this rather insane manner of clearing dungeons. Inside the offices of the White Tiger Guild, located in the same district, the chief of the 2nd Division, An Song-min, found himself shouting at the top of his voice early in the morning. Mr. Hyun, what are you doing here? What are you trying to do here? Tomorrow's the day for the new recruits to start training. Yet how could you have failed to book a single gate until now? Answer me, Mr. Vice Chief! The Vice Chief, Young Ki-chul, lowered his head in embarrassment. My apologies, Chief. The thing is, there's a raid team that quickly bids for every gate rank C opening up in our jurisdiction. What? Well then, why don't you just get them back with higher bids? Does our guild lack funds or personnel? Just what's the problem here? I tried to do as you said, but... Uh-huh. How dare you answer back as if you did something nice? From the thunderous roar of An Sang-min, the entirety of the 2nd Division had fallen into silence. It sure had been a long time since An Sang-min blew his top to this extent. Just what kind of a place was the White Tiger Guild? It was called one of the top 5 guilds in South Korea. For that reason alone, every single employee working within its walls was, without exception, excellent individuals. The Vice Chief Young Ki-chul, too, was a talented, sharp individual who performed his role well and admirably, having never committed a single error ever since he was hired by the guild. But to think, he failed to book a single gate when the new recruits were supposed to begin their training soon? This no doubt qualified as a big error. The 2nd Division that An Sang-min was in charge of did the roles of recruiting new hunters and training them, while the 1st Division took care of managing the schedules of the guild's main hunters. Please, take a look at this first, Chief. The near-tearful Hyung Ki-chul pushed forward a notebook PC to his superior officer. What the heck? An Sang-min was about to explode once more, only for his jaw to drop to the floor after checking out a certain number appearing on the notebook screen. 250 million won? There's a crazy idiot who spent 250 million won on a single rank C gate? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of chapter 38. Onwards to chapter 39. An Sang-min became utterly speechless. The best anyone could hope for in terms of financial return from a gate rank C was only around 200 million won. Paying 250 million won was, simply put, being a hopeless moron who paid way too much. Originally, the bidding price of this gate was only around 70 million. But when I raised the bid to 100 million, these idiots suddenly upped it all the way to 250 million, Chief. The upper limit for a single C-rank gate set by the White Tiger Guild was 100 million won. One could now clearly see why Hyung Ki-chul was feeling rather aggrieved at the moment. Who are these jerks? Tap, 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 tap. An Sang-min's hands typed on the keyboard quite rapidly, and soon the search results filled up the computer screen. Just as Hyung Ki-chul had said, one raid team was snapping up all the rank C gates appearing in this district with nonsensical speed while paying an equally gobsmacking amount of money. You know, not enough stories use the word gobsmack or gobsmacking all that often. They need to use it more. With nonsensical speed while paying an equally gobsmacking amount of money. What the heck? Who are these crazy bastards? This area was the White Tiger's background, their jurisdiction. Well, not background, but backyard. This area was the White Tiger's backyard, their jurisdiction. At first, An Sang-min thought of the possibility that other guilds were possibly interfering with their work. No, hang on. That's not possible, is it? There was no large guild stupid enough to start something with White Tiger openly in this fashion. Even if it was one of the 5 top guilds in South Korea, it would have to risk getting destroyed in return by clashing against the White Tiger. So it's not a guild then. In that case, who and why? An Sang-min swallowed his saliva, that is twice. Twice. We're already nearing this session, and we only came across it twice. Interesting. I feel like I'm being set up for it to appear at least 7 more times in our next reading. An Sang-min swallowed his saliva and accessed the information on this strange raid team and its members. The leader's name was apparently Yu Jin-ho. First time I heard that name. It was On Sung Min's job to scout new recruits for the guild. That was why he had remembered the names of freelancer hunters who had at least displayed a modicum of excellence in the past. Yo, CDs, what's going on? Wow, you're still on? Good. I just got off from work. Nice. But we are on chapter 39. Then we have chapter 40, and that's when I'll call it a session for today. I'm still looking into my camera like you can see my face. Oh no, we're on 39. We're on 39. We already went through chapter 38. We're on 39 right now.
First time I heard that name.
It was On Sung Min's job to scout new recruits for the guild. That was why he remembered the names of freelancer hunters who had at least displayed a modicum of excellence in the past. However, this Yu Jin-O really was someone he didn't know.
Okay, I'll come back to you later.
He then proceeded to slowly scroll down the list of the team's members, hoping to spot any familiar names on it. And then there was one. One name kind of stood out.
Sung Jin-Oo.
Sung Jin-Oo.
Where have I heard this name before?
Sung Min did his best to dig through his memory until he finally recalled the incident of the dual dungeon from 2 months ago that had been the topic of a rather lively discussion among those who went there. Indeed, it was none other than the White Tiger Guild that went to assist the association during that event.
Hey, Kichula, do you remember that dual dungeon incident 2 months ago? The one where our hunters had to go and take a look?
Yes, Chief, I remember. When we got there, we couldn't find any monsters and there was only one survivor.
What was the name of that survivor? You remember it?
Kijo possessed a pretty solid brain. No, it wasn't to the extent of other people praising him as a genius, but as far as his ability to remember things was concerned, he was really rather exceptional. There wasn't even any real need to go through a search process here, because Kichul replied right away.
It's Sung Jin-Oo, a Ranky hunter.
I knew it!
He wasn't sure of it, but well, he was proven right once more. Sung Min instinctively realized it. There was something fishy going on here. Not only did his instincts that activated only in these sorts of situations let him down. Not once! Sorry, I had to reread it. Not once did his instincts that activated only in these sorts of situations let him down. Never. Sung Min shouted out an order to the rest of the employees in the second division.
Everyone, stop what you're doing and get me every single data and information on the hunters Yu Jin-O, rank D, and Sung Jin-Oo, rank D. Right now!
The responses from these excellent employees when facing a dangerous situation regarding their own survival simply exceeded one's imaginations. It wasn't for nothing that they were called the elite of all elites. Reports came in one after the other, fast. As it turned out, Jin-O didn't possess any particularly noteworthy background that required an immediate attention. Disregarding the fact that he was the second son of Eugene Construction's owner, he could be described as ordinary, even. However, Sung Jin-Oo was quite a different story altogether.
Since that dual dungeon incident, he's been involved in 3 more incidents and he walked away from all of them unscathed.
When Sung Min spoke in a questioning tone of voice, Ki Chul quickly followed up.
Not only that, he's a Ranky hunter too, Chief.
The first time Sung Jin-Oo and Yu Jin-O met was when the latter went for his very first raid. Only the two of them walked away alive. And now, these two had formed a raid team, and were going around like a pair of madmen clearing 2-3 dungeons in a single day.
This definitely stinks.
What could they possibly be doing in the dungeons?
I wonder. Hold on.
Did I say something different? Did I say Jin was E? D rank? Did I say something wrong? Did I say something different? Did I say the wrong thing, Kitty? I was getting so swept up in it, I might have said something wrong. Was it back when I was saying, everyone stop what you're doing, give me every single data and information on the hunters Yu Jin-O rank D and Sung Jin-Oo rank D? Wu Jinchul? No, Kicho. Kicho. Kichio. Cheol. I said D? I said D for both. Sorry about that. Yeah, but I was meant to say, everyone, stop what you're doing and give me every single data and information on the hunters Yujino ranked D and Sung Jinu ranked E. Right now! I probably got so swept up in it. Sorry about that. But going back to where I was. And now, these two had formed a raid team and were going around like a pair of madmen, clearing 2-3 dungeons in a single day. I did it again? I'm saying E. Wait a minute. Hold on. I didn't say it wrong. I'm saying E. I'm saying E. Wait, I'm saying I am wait, so the past 2 times I've been saying E. I said it the last time before I did it the third time. I said E. I know I said E. It might be the speed of which I'm because it says ranked RANKED and then E. So it sounds like I'm saying ranked E, but it sounds like I'm saying D at the same time. That might be it because I'm saying the letter E. I am saying the letter E. I know for a fact I'm saying letter E. Rank D. Yeah, I understand it now because when I say ranked, I'm emphasizing the D on the word ranked. And so it sounds like I'm saying ranked D, ranked D, ranked D, ranked. I'm having the D sound going with the E sound as well. So that's on me. That's on me. That's on me. I think I said it right the first time, but I might have said it so quickly that it sounded like I said rank D instead of E. Because D and E both sound similar if you take out the starting syllable, but yes, the starting sound. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted here. And now, these two had formed a raid team and were going around like a pair of madmen, clearing 2-3 dungeons in a single day. This definitely stinks.
What could they possibly be doing in the dungeons?
I wonder. Hold on. I remember now. There was a rumor about a really influential owner of a big company busy wooing S-rank hunters in private doing the rounds, wasn't there?
Yes, there was a rumor like that.
And that Yu Jino is the son of a really influential owner of a company. Indeed. Sorry. No, you're fine. I wanted to make sure that I was saying it correctly for all of you. You've done nothing wrong. You rarely do. And that Yu Jino is the son of a really influential owner of a company. Indeed, Yu Myung-hwan, Yu Jino's father, showed some movements of wanting to create a guild of his own. It was one of the most tightly guarded secrets only a few in the world of hunters were privileged enough to know. If that was the case, then what Jino was doing right now wouldn't be completely unrelated to that. Could it be? A single puzzle piece fell to its place inside Sung Min's head. If his guess was right, then it made sense. Seeing that rapid change in his superior officer's expression, Ki Chio nervously swallowed his saliva. I was hoping it would only be 2, but it's 3 now. I was hoping that it would just be 2, but it's 3. Sung Min spoke with more than enough confidence in his voice. This guy, he's definitely a reawakened hunter!
A reawakened hunter, you say?
Ki Chio's eyes became round dots resembling a rabbit's eyes, but Sung Min was sure of it. That's right. A rank E hunter was, I had to emphasize, a rank E hunter was no different from a regular person. If there was an incident, then such hunters were as good as dead. However, this Sung Jinu kept surviving, totally unhurt to boot, from several large-scale incidents that killed most of the participating hunters. Of course, he could be lucky, sure. However, the third and last incident, the situation with this particular incident caused by the agent of the monitoring division, Kang Tae-sik, was rather different from the rest. The record said that a rank C mage combined strength with a rank B healer to defeat Kang Sik. Bull. Hunters in the monitoring derision all in the derision. Hunters in the monitoring derision. Hunters in the monitoring division all specialize in combat. If Kang Tae-sik wasn't a moron, he'd try to dispose of the highly ranked hunter with the low combat potential, the rank B healer, first. You're telling me that a rank C mage-type hunter managed to stop him by himself? Also, Mihai, I saw you earlier. Don't worry, I saw you. It's good to see you as well. You're telling me that a rank C mage-type hunter managed to stop him by himself? The thing was, the mage-type hunters were weak against close combat-type hunters, even more so against the assassin types. Unless Kang underestimated his opponents and ignored the presence of the rank B healer, it might be possible, but the hunter with 3 years of experience in the monitoring division wouldn't make such a blunder, though, thought Song-min. The one who stopped Kang Sik wasn't this rank C Song Chi Hyol, but someone else accompanying them. Accompanying them. That word always gets me. There was no physical evidence, but he was getting more and more sure of his guesses being right. Jin now possessed abilities matching that of a high-ranking hunter after going through a reawakening process. Jin-Oh coincidentally took part in the raid and saw the abilities of Jin. And now, Jin-Oh was testing out this and that in preparation to scout Jin to his father's new guild. When he thought like that, everything seemed to click. This is a huge piece of news! If Jin was indeed a reawakened hunter, then there would only be a few people, including Jin-Oh, who knew his true worth. Just who was Yu Myung-hwan? He wouldn't want to accept any wannabes and idiots. Definitely not. Not only that, as one of the founding members of the guild, too. This could be an excellent chance to snatch away a wonderful individual marked by none other than Yu Myung-hwan. If he fought and defeated rank B Kang Tae-sik, then his abilities should be at least B, right? I keep going between Kong and Kang. If he fought and defeated Kang Tae-sik, then his abilities should be at least B, no? The priority now was to snatch this talent before other guilds. No, Yu Myung-hwan managed to scout him. Well, after the inevitable reassessment test, the competition would become really hectic after all. Besides all that, even if Jin wasn't as strong as he suspected, it didn't really matter. There were only a few reawakened hunters in the entire world, so the media's attention would no doubt be directed to this guy. And that would precisely be the kind of public exposure that no amount of money could buy. Whatever the case may be, Song-min couldn't afford to let this guy slip through his fingers. I wouldn't be able to do anything if he already signed a contract with Yu Myung-hwan, though. However, the odds of that was low. The proof was all those tests taking place in the C-rank dungeons. There's a good chance that they haven't decided on anything yet. Which meant the White Tiger Guild had a real shot here as well. I shouldn't be wasting time here. Song-min picked up his coat hanging on the back of his chair and quickly put it on. Kichiola, let's go. He also didn't forget to mobilize his right-hand man, of course. Song-min was strict with Kichiol all the time simply because the former believed that no one was more suitable to take over from him than his current deputy. Meanwhile, Kichiol's eyes opened wider. Pardon me? Where are we going, Chief? What do you mean, where? We're going to scout a new talent, that's what. And you have to personally go to scout this new guy? Why not? Is there a law against doing that? Song-min retorted and hurriedly left the office, causing Ki-cheol to tilt his head this way and that. But still, he chased after the senior officer. Now, this is so strange. It'd been over 2 years since he became the vice chief, yet it was his first time seeing Song-min personally going out on a job. Part 7. Premonition of a huge jackpot. The dungeons Jin-Oh's team booked for the day were 2, and the distance between the two gates was fairly substantial. In order to confirm their suspicions with their own eyes, Sangmin and Kichiol separated and went to different gates each. They constantly called each other and waited for Jino's team to show up.
It's still pretty chilly out, isn't it?
Sangmin brought a cup of instant coffee from a vending machine near the gate's location. It had already been 1 solid hour of waiting for Jino's team to show up. For some reason, though, he was feeling more expectant than bored right now. Been a long time, but his heart was beating fast in pure anticipation.
If my guesses are right, then that man would be a huge scoop that has appeared in a really long time. Not only that, a very special scoop, too.
Sangmin became a division chief at a really young age. All thanks to his instincts, actually. His instincts played a crucial role in the White Tiger becoming the large guild of today. And that instinct was telling him this right now. That there was a real chance that this Sung Jinu would lift the White Tiger Guild up even higher than ever before.
Other people would say that I've lost my mind.
Well, Jin was still officially an E rank after all. However, things visible to one's eyes didn't tell the whole story. If that was the case, then he wouldn't even be here right now. And so, as he glared at the gate with hawk-like eyes from afar, when... young Kichiol gave him a call.
Yes, Kichiola. Any news?
Chief, Jino and his team have arrived on site.
All right, don't get too excited and keep your eyes on them. And report back to me every single little thing that happens there.
Yes, Chief. Chief? Chief! The voice coming out of the phone's receiver sounded rather weird all of a sudden.
Did this idiot get discovered or something?
Sangmin became urgent too and hurriedly called out.
What happened? Speak up, will ya?
Chief, you were right.
What?
Sangmin's heart began beating faster and faster. I can see that only you, Jin-Oh, and Sung Jinu are entering the gate. No one else.
Of course. Sung Jinu is being tested after all.
As he thought, his guesses were correct. Not once did his gut feeling let him down in situations like this.
Good!
Sangmin clenched his fist real tightly.
While you people remain unconvinced and unsure, we will make the move first. The White Tiger Guild will definitely take Sung Jinu away from you.
Why? Because the White Tiger had on Sangmin, chief of the 2nd Division. That's why. As Sangmin bathed in the ecstasy of victory, Kichiol's voice continued to travel through the airwaves and came out from the phone once more. What should I do now? Should I go over to you, Chief?
No, remain there and observe for a while longer.
Pardon? But isn't Chief's suspicions more or less confirmed with this?
I'm kind of curious just how long they will take to clear the dungeon. That's all. How many hours will they need to clear a rank C dungeon?
A rank A hunter would need at least 2 hours to solo a rank C dungeon, Chief.
So what? You can't wait that long?
How can that be, Chief? No, I'm just worried about you being all alone and lonely over there. That's why I'm asking you. What a faster-than-light change in his attitude that was. This was why Sangmin could never dislike Hyun Kichiol.
Stop worrying about me and make sure to keep your eyes wide open to see when they're coming out, okay?
That, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of chapter 39. One more chapter, and then we are done reading for today. Woo-hoo! Oh, I feel good right now. Chapter 40. I'm sure nothing weird will happen here.
I'll be right next to my phone, so if something does happen, give me a call right away.
Got it, Chief. Sangmin ended the call only after making sure his right-hand man fully heard his request. It was at this point that he felt his starvation kick in.
I've been paying way too much attention on this matter.
The lunch hour had flown by some time ago, but, well, he'd been waiting with bated breath for Sung Jinu's arrival and completely forgot to fill up in the meantime. The thing was, he didn't know when Jino's team would show up here and so couldn't leave his position to buy something to eat. Now that he found himself some leeway, Sangmin looked around his vicinity to find a place to eat before eventually settling on the local convenience store.
I'm not trying to skimp on food expenses, though.
No one was around here to make fun of him, yet he couldn't help but think that it was a bit uncool to enter a restaurant or a diner all alone. So, after a lengthy deliberation, he chose the cup ramen from the convenience store instead. He poured the boiling water provided from the store in the cup and waited for 3 minutes before getting his wooden chopsticks ready, but then...
Ring!
Yeah, I'm trying to eat here, so who dares to call me now?
When he took a look at the phone screen, a familiar name popped up. Right arm.
Young Chi-Kyo, you idiot!
Sangmin answered the call, full of irritation.
Why are you calling me already?
Chief, that's not it.
What do you mean that's not it? If you're calling me over nothing, you will be eating nothing but cup ramen as your lunch for the whole of next week!
That's not it, Chief. Those two came out of the gate already.
Just like a pause frame of a movie, Sangmin's hand froze in the midair, just before it could deliver chopsticks full of noodles to his mouth.
What did you say?
Just now, Yu Jino and Sung Jinu came out from the gate, Chief. Came out from the gate, Chief. And they are getting ready to leave along with the rest of the team.
Indeed, he didn't hear that wrong. Sangmin hurriedly checked his watch.
But it hasn't even been 30 minutes yet. Did they give up on the raid midway?
No, Chief. The gate is shaking right now.
What nonsense was this? Even if the difficulty between different C-rank dungeons varied somewhat, there was simply no way that someone could solo one of those in less than 30 minutes. Someone doesn't know the title of this story.
Check again. Is the gate closing for real?
Yes, Chief. Should I record some footage and send it to you?
No. No need.
Sangmin ended the call and dazedly stared at the empty air. Clearing a C-rank dungeon in 30 minutes when normally a rank A hunter would need 2 hours to do so? What a funny notion that was, that man being only a rank B. Using only the objective information available to make his educated guesses, then, at the bare minimum,
He's above rank A.
Now, this was an unimaginably huge jackpot. Outside the gate.
Young Nim, is there some other business you need to attend to later?
Not really. Why do you ask?
I haven't seen you hurrying up this much with hunting before.
Jino was feeling truly astonished today. He already knew very well that Jin was strong, but today he seemed to be on another dimension altogether. But that was par for the course, really. Jin inwardly laughed out. Well, monsters in this dungeon were werewolves after all.
Title: Slaughterer of Wolves. A title given to a hunter skilled in hunting wolves. When facing animal-type monsters, all of your stats will increase by 40%. The buff given by the title of Slaughterer of Wolves...
The buff given by the title Slaughterer of Wolves, of course, came into effect against the werewolves as well. How could the monsters from a rank C dungeon contend with him when his level was already so high to begin with? Never mind the effect of that buff helping him out, too. Thanks to that, Jino had been kept real busy while trying to extract all those magic crystals from the dead monsters. He even had to drink 5 vials of the HP potion, too. He shook his head several times, complaining that he wouldn't be able to eat lunch now, after the potions filled him up completely.
That's that, but...
That's that, but... Jin slowly raised his head. He had been sensing someone's gaze coming from somewhere. I don't sense any magical energy, so he can't be a hunter. He took a look around, but couldn't spot anyone suspicious. If he got serious about discovering who it was, then he would be able to find the person. But then, as the target didn't emit any killing intent or hostile intentions, it'd take a real long time to track the culprit down. It might be nothing, too. Perhaps inevitably, the gaze disappeared before long. Young Nim, is everything all right?
It's nothing. Let's get going.
Sorry, I had to mute for a quick moment. Young Nim, is everything all right?
It's nothing. Let's get going.
There was no time to waste here. Jin took one last look around and climbed into the van. He couldn't sense anyone looking at him by the second gate's location, both the times when he entered and also when exiting the gate.
Was I being overly cautious?
What a relief it was, knowing that it wasn't something serious. Meanwhile, Jino walked over and apologetically lowered his head. Young Nim, I'm really sorry about this. This is the last gate for the day. Other ones were just too far from here.
Don't worry about it. That's not something you should apologize for anyway.
The sun was still pretty high up in the sky, but thanks to the duo's antics, just about every gate that appeared in the district had been taken care of, so their day had to come to an end here. Thank you all for working hard, everyone. What do you mean working hard? It's you, the raid leader, who worked hardest. See you tomorrow. Take it easy now. After sending everyone away, the remaining two men climbed aboard the driver's and the passenger's seats of the van. Let me take you home, young Nim. Before anyone had noticed it, Jino had become a trusty chauffeur. Him sitting behind the wheel looking perfectly normal now. Jin looked Jino with pitying eyes.
Just because he wants a shot at the position of the guildmaster, a scion of a wealthy family now has to work as a chauffeur?
Jino had been smiling brightly while pressing on the accelerator, before realizing that Jin was staring at him and asked with an equally bright voice, Eh? Is there something on my face, young Nim?
Nope. Never mind.
Jin pretended to know nothing before suddenly recalling something else rather important, and he pulled out his phone to check the time.
Right now, it's 16:46.
Indeed, it was still too early to go home. How fortunate that he still... It's military time, 1646. How fortunate that he still had one thing he could do.
I'm sure it was around here, right?
According to his memories, at least. Jin spoke up quickly.
Hey, Jino.
Yes, young Nim? Jino replied while professionally turning the steering wheel. The van the two of them were riding on smoothly went around the curve on the road.
Head to the Mirai department store.
Mirai department store? Jino formed a confused expression.
Yeah, let's go there.
Well, yes, it's just around a quarter from here, but I did notice it back during the hunting, so, is there really nothing going on, young Nim?
For some reason, you've been talking more.
For some reason, you've been talking a lot more than necessary lately. That prompted Jino's head to rigidly stare forward and nothing else. I shall get us there.
For some reason, you've been talking a lot more than necessary lately.
That prompted, wanted to make sure I read it in Jin's voice. That prompted Jino's head to rigidly stare forward and nowhere else. I shall get us there at the speed of light, young Nim. Please hold on tight. Jino quickly changed his attitude and drove the van like a stuntman, never once touching his brake pedal. Oh, someone's got to let foot. The distance to cover wasn't a lot, so they arrived at the destination pretty quickly. The van came to a screeching halt in front of the building. The overall vibe given off by the Mirai department store located smack dab in the city of Seoul's CBD was quite something to behold. When Jin climbed out of the van, I don't know how I was doing with that. When Jin climbed out of the van, Jino followed suit. Young Nim, our guild's got to use this kind of a building as our headquarters in the future. What do you think? Jino stared up at the department store building and threw half a joke. However, there was no reply. Sensing that something was weird here, Jino hurriedly took a look next to him. Eh? Jin was no longer standing there. Young Nim, No matter how hard he looked around, Jin was gone without a trace.
Young Nim? With the death of the boss, the interior of the dungeon will revert back to its original state.
I leveled up again twice in the department store into the instant dungeon. The steps taking Jin home were light and cheery. It had been a while, but the key to the instant dungeon had finally come out of the random box recently, and that key was supposed to be used at the Mirai department store. He was wondering when to go, but decided to visit the place today since he found himself with enough free time.
Young Nim?
Jin recalled the dazed face of Jinno as the kids searched for him and couldn't help but chuckle. His phone suddenly went off then. Before answering it, he checked the number on the phone screen, but he couldn't recognize it. Who could it be? Back when he was still in high school, he was too busy trying to be a mother to his little sister, and after graduation, he started right away as a hunter, so one could say that Jin's circle of acquaintances was fairly small. I shouldn't be getting calls from unknown numbers. He tilted his head only for a second or two. For the time being, he decided to answer it. Hello? Hello. Is this Mr. Sung Jinu speaking? It was an open and friendly sounding... Hello, is this Mr. Sung Jinu speaking? It was an open and friendly sounding voice of a man. Jin hung up the moment he heard that. Click. Well, from my experience, this kind of call is 99% someone trying to sell me stuff or trying to entice me to get a loan anyway. Just as he was about to put his phone back in the pocket, it rang again. Bzzz. Bzzz. And it was the exact same number. What the? It wasn't someone selling stuff? Normally, these salespeople would call whoever just so they could meet their sales target, which meant that they would almost never call him back this quickly as soon as the connection was dropped. Why? They were quick-witted enough to realize that this would be a waste of time, and that's why. Which means the guy on the other side really has some kind of business with me. So he answered the call promptly this time. Hello, this is Sung Jinu. Ah, so it was the right number. I thought I called the wrong one because the call got cut off so quickly. Jin deliberated for the whole of 2 seconds on whether to apologize or not, with an excuse of him thinking that the call was about selling insurance or some such, because the man's voice sounded a bit... But in the end, he decided not to. Feels like me apologizing now would only make it worse. A short bout of silence later, the man with a salesman's voice, made his belated introduction. Ah, where are my manners? My bad for the late introduction. My name is An Sang-min, and I work for the White Tiger Guild. Jin's steps came to an abrupt halt. Why is the White Tiger Guild calling me? He couldn't think of a reason why such a big guild as the White Tiger would call him out of the blue. The only thing he could think of, though, was that this guild assisted him back in that dual dungeon incident, but I'm sure they aren't calling me to investigate that day's matters after so much time has passed by already. Well, he couldn't stand not knowing, so before An Sang-min had the chance to continue, Jin asked first. Why is the White Tiger Guild giving me a call? The matter is a bit sensitive to discuss over the phone, so may I come to you and have a chat face to face? The man was saying that he'd come to see him, not asking Jin to show up, so there was no real reason to refuse here. Besides, he had nothing much to do the day after tomorrow anyway. Didn't Jinno say he had some kind of an event back home? Jinno begged for his understanding while saying that there was a big family event happening on that day and everyone simply had to show up, meaning he couldn't go on any raids. A big family event, eh? Just from thinking about a Chaebol's family event, Jin could only imagine luxurious, elaborate parties being held in a 5-star hotel's reception hall. Should he blame TV dramas for that now? In any case, it'd be easy to set a date for that day. I have some free time on Thursday. Well, the thing is, will it be fine if we meet right now? Right now? Jin checked the time. The time on the phone screen indicated 8 in the evening. But it's already 8. Don't worry, I'm waiting for you nearby. I just wish to speak to you for a little while only. Nearby? As in? I'm in a cafe near you. Sangmin spoke the name of the cafe. Jin was quite familiar with the place. It was near his home, so he went past it often. And not only that, but he also used it as the meeting place with Jino as well. Jin's eyes narrowed to a slit. This guy knows where I live. And that is the end of chapter 40, ladies and gentlemen. I know this was a bit of a long session. Don't worry, I'll cut out that entire big pause from me having my lunch break. But this is the end of me reading Solo Leveling for this week. I will see you the Monday after next as we continue with chapters 41 to 50. We're getting closer and closer to the 100 chapter mark, but I thank you for all your patience, your patronage, your time, your likes, your subscriptions, everything you did for me. All that really matters is that you guys really enjoyed yourself. If you did, then hey, I did my job. Thank you, Kitty, CDs, Mihai. Who else was here? Donti, Ramil, Ravi. Thank you all for being here. It's been wonderful reading for you all, and I will catch you all in my next session. Hope you all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. And because I know you're coming back anyway. So have a fantastic day. And once again, as always, later, peoples.